President yeah, this again. I say, okay, I'm right. I'm bringing you. I'm a part of my trade. Yeah, well, on it goes away. Alas, I go that year. No, we say you. Baba, what I get you up anywhere, Mamba, Sibole. La Roche, Pami National, 4. We are glad everyone by this, so when you go, I want I go. No, I bet you go back for Monyo. Baba Yegita, Petit, brother Sasoni, Kaidaka, Bena Paya was a go, Mambo Payago, Apollo Akaway, Wampos and Yokaway. We are for them one money, your pocket, you can. None your see one. What's the matter to your way at your Emma? Next to go. With this one, where they have it. Go on, yeah, I cannot salute. What's the matter to your way at your Emma? Next to go. Now, with this one, where they have it. Go on, yeah, can you get? Now, get in your way. I know South Fabian. There you go. I do what you described it to work on. Are you a no? Typo, that we say you will buy. I want to you come on in the boy. I did. Yes, I'm going to find them with Mwege. Am I gay? One of what I guess me, I'm done. And in the boy. Oh, ow. Typo, that you we say you will. So I like it from when you're never yet never boy. Let Tony and Hey, you. Oh, but just say, oh, yeah, I'm a walking about. Kaidaka, when it was to work out of let you know halfway. I just know. See what I say? Typo, yeah. You are doing them on by one name on the by Potamu, Kanyada. Daniel Papa, Benegasia, Paka Lake, the Pussy for that PSC. There's 10 years you don't know Moania. There was a boy who said, Dressy, Mammo, Calipo, that Yano, and I will say you by I will. Saibo.
Begin at tuneslivebeers.com.
I just want to lay a bad one.
I know my level, my man, don't stress me. The puppy bless me, some here to party. I want war, yellow zombie. I want body, I pro, yellow zombie. Batting up, bring a yellow zombie. I got a party, people dancing, yellow zombie. Sanko, me, I want to wear a paco.
All right, folks, good evening. And it's 8:34 Eastern Standard Time. We want to welcome our viewers and listeners across the globe. It's in continuations of the political events in Liberia. We're going to take a discussion again tonight, this evening, morning, depending on your location. A second batch released today by the National Election Commission. How far we get to go. How far these guys are standing. It is of a belief that these political parties, they know where they stand, but we have to do our own talking point to make sure that the political process is followed in Liberia. As usual, my panelists are going to be here, contributors, to have a conversation here, whether there's a new revelation or new dimension into the process. How far do we get to go? And of course, our beautiful follower, please as usual, your output, your conversations will also be highly welcome. However, this network is facilitates genuine conversations in the interest of our country is our primary concern as we intend to keep the disco professional and more savored. So we cautions our viewers, the language, how they're going to address their fellow Liberians. They must take that into consideration. I'm Afonso Zay and Sort of the Liberia Public Radio and LPR TV. Stay tuned. So we're going to get this ball rolling right away. All right, let's see here. Let me get right back here, and we're going to get this going. I believe one of my guests is already here. I will be waiting for the Liberal Progressive and of Welcome. I'm Afonso Zay and so right here from the New England Bureau of the Liberia Public Radio. Thank you for sharing this Friday evening with us. More provisional ballot result. More to come tomorrow, but we are gradually getting to the end of this marathon to the grand finale. It's a little signal as that is unveiling, but it's too soon to make that sort of projection. But a much close out races now, indicators are there. Speaking with folks and information coming from the National Election Commission. Let me bring in Professor Ase Said Labor is a senior contributor of the Liberia Public Radio and LPR TV, and a strong advocate of the government as well, which of course that's what we're supposed to do. We can't. We have to be from different sector. There you see him. Comfortable, relaxing as usual. And I hope the Liberal and Pa George will show how yes, somebody else should be adding to this disco here this evening. Professor, good evening and welcome.
Well, good evening, Afonso. Thanks for having me on again. As usual, it's always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. I'm not saying the sort of happiness that I always see in the professor. Is that a new consignment, new badge released today? Get you down?
No, I'm very. I indicated to you, on Sunday or Monday or so. I told you. In fact, it was Tuesday. I told you that at the end of the day, I think our democracy was reaffirmed, and I think that's the most joyous moment for me. So I'm excited. I'm glad that the Liberian people will exercise their franchise and choose the direction of our country. So I'm overjoyed.
Okay. You had the privilege, I know you are a busy guy, but you have the privilege to monitor the new batch or provisional result released today?
Yeah, I did. And the result is it is providing a clearer picture of the overall direction of this whole, elections. And in addition to that, I think I was told, and when I went there, I checked it up, that the Elections Commission website is already up.
Yeah, it's back. It's running up.
So you can get a better insight into the results, by precincts.
Yeah,
we're getting a clearer picture, But like I said before,
is a clearer picture moving in your direction? Your party, for example.
Our party participated in. Our party had interest in about 15 of the races. And there were some of them that went in our way. That some of them looked like it's going to go our way. There are some that will not go our way. And I know the biggest one that people talk about is the one in Montserrat, or the two biggest ones that people speak about, the one in Montserrat and the one in Grand Bassa. I think the race in Grand Bassa is still close to call. Too close to call. I think the race in Montserrat is all about decided. I think we lost that race.
That's strange. This I'm hearing from you.
Well, they did it online, and we sometimes I hear people when some of us come on this show, and they try to bash us and disparage us and call us dishonest people. That's something I would never engage in. I would never try to deviate from the facts or the truth. When the facts is there or the facts are there, you got to be able to accept it. I think we ran a very good race, very good campaign. I think at the end of the day, this was a referendum on the government as we made it and as the opposition made it. And I think, as a politician and, educator, I think, we call this a teachable moment. So it's a lesson learned. So, people, you reach the point where you provide your students with instruction and then you pause and, ask them to answer questions. And they answer the questions in a way it can lead you to redevelop, redesign your lesson, reteach. So I think there's a teachable moment for us as a party. And I think we'll rise up to the challenge and be better prepared next time.
Was that a surprise?
Partly surprising and partly not. I think based on what we're getting from the people in the field,
Seems not to be genuine.
Yeah, it seemed not to be, genuine, and it was deceptive. We didn't get the result right now. The fact that, Mr. Dillon is winning by a huge margin. I think he had like 100 and some thousand votes today.
Yes.
That's scary. So, out of somebody who's not providing the fact.
664.
Yeah, the people have been deceptive, or somebody was not, or something drastically happened, between the last time we checked and the election day. It's a wake-up call. So it wasn't totally surprising.
Yeah, I want to agree with you not to jump ahead of our shadow here to wait for the authority close with the process to make an official announcement. But I can tell you, early 7:30 to 8 o'clock this morning, I spoke with a high-profile insider of the establishment who happens to be a senator and was heavily involved in the campaign. Admitted, yes, that it is over. They also received their tally. But, for the big elephant to fall down too, that they have to put us on. We see what is happening here with the Trump guys. They took it to Supreme Court here again this evening. Supreme Court / away. So, but this was not a gradual process. It was not an overnight event. Is there a lesson learned from the CDC here? We went down this route before with Polita Way, bringing in a candidate that was very, very much unknown. It took time to establish the identity of this candidate. This time, they brought in somebody who is at least within the barrel, who happens to be Representative Fala. What happens to the message? How it turned around so quickly and fast to get to this point?
That is puzzling. It's puzzling, let's be very honest. I think the president has a big and a fantastic plan for our country.
Professor, the plan, this pro plan here, I have same picture of but it's not being articulated effectively. They are also helped. They have fell in the trap of the oppositions and they are being distracted instead of keeping track with the propos and defending the actual policies of the government. They too were bent on the defenses. So I don't know whether that was properly interpreted.
Well, yes, that's the thing. I'm telling you now. Look, what I think the party would need to do and the government would need to do to move away from propaganda to policy communication. There's a difference between policy communication and propaganda.
Right.
So, and then we need to actualize the things that we told the Liberian people we're going to do. There has to be more movement of people from below the poverty line. Right now, whether it is the opposition controlling the narrative or not, the news you hear from Liberia is not encouraging. I'm a owner of 2 institutions, 2 schools in Liberia. In Kakata, I was told today that a lot of the private schools are going to open after the new year, and it's scary because parents cannot afford to even pay the registration fees for their children. And mind you, this year, all at once, they have to pay for registration fee for their children for the new school year, pay for graduation for the ones who are graduating, because graduations will be held in January. And then at the same time, they got to buy Christmas gifts for their families. And, you know, the economic situation in the country is, you know, is not the best. So with all of that happening, you know, this is not surprising. So I think, but yet I think the president plan, the president vision, the president's desire to see Liberia move, you know, upwards, I think is in place, and I think there's an opportunity.
Hold on 1 second here, Professor. The president plan, his desire is in place. Okay, but the president cannot do exclusively by himself. This is why he surrounds himself with close buddies and people who are being in the vanguard for him. But those people, are they accurately and honestly being brought to the president to give the president a hint some of the things that are happening outside of their own enclave, to bring it to the president and say, hey, Mr. President, this is the situation and we need to go heads on it to have an attack. I'm not sure whether that is being done.
I think the people at the very top are doing it. You know, I hear a lot of people try to beat on Samuel, Minister Tue and Minister McGill. I know these two gentlemen. They are fine young men. I know that they are doing their job. But again, like you said, it's not
fine oriented, or what sort of fine? What is it?
Wise? Look, Samuel Tue is a smart guy, and Minister McGill is very smart. Those are very smart people, and I think they are doing their job.
What I'm saying, being smart, Professor, if you have a student here, when a student is struggling, and a good student that is struggling in the class, you're going to tell your professor, hey, I'm falling short of this here. Can you help me? I need some extra time. So definitely these people, the president likely to depend on them being the close buddy to the president, or close confidant to the president, to be a little bit open up in communication, not in their gathering, but look, one-on-one, Mr. President, this is what we are hearing. This is what is happening.
But that's what I'm telling you. You are you certain that those people? You see, so first of all, Minister McGill, Minister Tue have to get.
I didn't call him.
They have to get the information from down to be able to effectively inform the president. They have to get the information from down. So if that information is not coming to them from downstream, it makes it challenging for them. They can only provide the president the information that they are getting from downstream. And so, but you know, the buck starts with them. I think the people I know them to be, I'm very positive they're going to get back on the drawing board. There will be changes. I think they're going to call in some fresh faces, bring some fresh blood in, and we can turn this thing around. I can assure you that we can turn this thing around.
Yeah, I was told this morning that the president, I'm not sure, do you are much closer to have some good insight? I'm told that the president is upset. There are a couple of meetings been having behind the scene. The president felt betrayed. The president felt that people that he really trusted did not open up as they should be. False predictions were made. And right now, the president seems not to be happy. And my guess, some hair is going to roll very shortly. Are you hearing that?
No, I didn't hear that. I saw that in one of these speculative. I saw a speculative piece of journalism out there, very low class work, and in which they kind of like pointed to some of those things that you are talking about. But I haven't heard that from inside. What I know from inside, what you expect, and what anyone should expect is that the president should not be happy. But to say that the president is putting this squarely, on the, blaming this squarely on any particular individual, I've not heard that. You see, the president is an individual who, first of all, understands that, come what may, he will always put himself first. That I took this charge to lead our country, and when things go bad, it is on me. That's the kind of person I know him to be. And so I know right now he's accepting that it's on him, and he's thinking about what he needs to do.
Responsibility when things go wrong?
Oh, he takes responsibility.
Have you done that in the past?
He's done it always. He's done it. You see, look, there have been many missing. But I mean, I could give you hundreds of examples. I don't think that's what we want to do tonight because it would need a lot of time. But look, there's so many misconceptions with the president. And and I'm sure you have had the opportunity to personally engage the president. He's an affable person. He's a very likable person. He's a person who speaks his mind. He's deep. He's a very strong, he's very rational. The president has some of these traditional wisdom. One of the things about life, I'm a grandmother's son, a grandson also. That is, I was very close to my grandmother. And the president is the same thing. He was very close to his grandmother. People who are very close to the grandparents, they tend to be very wise, especially in our own African context. Very, very wise. And the president is a very wise man. He thinks deeply. And he is not an individual who goes about blaming people for things when things go wrong, and when things go well, he accepts it, as if he did it. No, the president places successes in the hands of the people around him, and he takes the blame for the wrong. And so, what he's going to do? He will accept that he didn't do what he was supposed to do. He will get back, call on his people, and get this thing working. Look, the president has some very, very dedicated and smart people around him. And he still has a lot more outside whose expertise he has not tapped into. And you're expecting to be tapped into those.
When you say outside,
within the CDC. Within the CDC.
Are they in Liberia or outside of the country?
Some of them are in Liberia. Some of them are outside Liberia. Look,
including Professor Zawulo?
Well, I'm not one of those smart guys. There are a lot more smarter people than I am, who the president can tap into. But I too have some things that I can offer. But yes, we have people both in and out. And that was one of the things, when we were preparing as we prepared, for this whole thing, people were always questioning whether CDC has, the intellect to lead the country. No, look, the party has it. And I'm sure the president will be tapping into those things very soon. And we will change this thing. We'll turn this thing around.
When you're talking about turning it around, where does it start from, Professor?
It starts from everywhere. Look, let's not sugarcoat this thing. There are so many areas in which we have failed. Like I told you, the economy is not in the best shape. We've not been able to generate jobs and opportunities especially for the young people. There's just been too much questions about things that we do, and we have not answered them. Our society is a society that thrives on myth, and we have not been able to effectively.
Are you saying the society wrongly judge the work of the ruling establishment?
No, I'm not talking about ruling establishment. I'm talking about situations like if there's, for example, it's a death somewhere. People fantasize already. They already begin to create stories about how it happened. They can write a whole narrative of how it happened and how it didn't happen. And we haven't done a very good job of dismissing some of those allegations. You talk about the 16 billion issue, and you talk about the 25 million mop of exercise. You've said it before that the government did not do a very good job in dismissing those allegations. There was never, I always call it a non-issue of the non-issue of the non-disappearance of the non-existent 16 billion. It never happened.
The government was unable. Those who articulate, those who serve as the spokesperson, those who in charge to interpret the message of the government, they were just not successful. They were unable to explain to get the case to the Liberian people. So as a result, their hands were caught into the whole thing, and it became a mess.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I'm saying. The president will have to sit down and put the right people in the right places, so that when things like, look, one of the things about this government is that this government has been this government has not been proactive in so many ways. To lead in our country, I keep saying the same thing over and over. There's a very small room for error. Our people live in abject poverty, and it's depressing for them to be in that state for a very long time. So there's no opportunity to make error and correct it. So you always got to be on the top of your game, and we haven't been on the top of our game. We're always coming from behind, and we always have to respond we're always put in the mode of responding, and we have to change that. We have to be proactive, provide for people to provide information to the people as it becomes available, and be more open about our shortcomings, and stop celebrating when we do what we are supposed to do. I think that's some of the things that some of the things we got caught up in.
What you're saying here tonight, I'm not sure these people they have that sort of bravery to look in the eyes of the president. That's our responsibility. This is what we're elected for. That's what the Liberian people require. Doing. But the CA as
one of the things I tell you today, I read about 2 different pieces of a document that were released by seditionists, people who are people who are members of the party, very smart people, and people are speaking out. People are speaking out. It is frustrating. Look, losing is never a good thing. Losing is never a good thing. So people are frustrated. I got my staff in Liberia noticed that for the past couple of days, I've not been on top of my game. I've not been doing the things that I usually do. And one of them was able to pick it up quickly and said, Mrs. Zawolo, you got to forget about this thing. You participate in something, you win one time and you lose another time. So you got to forget about it. Yes, I've been troubled because losing is never a good thing. I've been seriously troubled. I haven't been sleeping. I've been thinking. And, there are many other citizens who are doing the same thing. Because, look, we do not want this thing to slip into the wrong hands. If you think this government has not been performing effectively, just think about some of the actors who are now trying to get in government.
Who specifically are you referring to?
I mean, all of them. You check it out. Look at the alternative.
All of them is relative.
But look at the alternative. You have the Unity Party right now, who now wants to transform itself or present itself as a savior. The Unity Party have had 12 years to run the country. The Unity Party had the support of the international community. United Nations was spending over $700 million in Liberia. In fact, at the United Nations, there was a concern raised about how much money the United Nations was spending in Liberia. That's the extent to which how Liberia benefited so much for 12 years under the Unity Party-led government. What did the Unity Party do? They imported incompetent and misfits from abroad and paid them fabulous salaries. They failed to address the needs of the ordinary people.
You seem to shift, Professor. You seem to shift the direction.
I'm just telling you that for an institution that was in power for 12 years to be crying out as a city.
The Liberian people? The question now: who is the Liberian people looking up to?
I agree with you. That's what I said to you. I said, look, we failed. We failed in so many ways. But what I'm saying to you, equally so, just because we fail doesn't make Unity Party any better than us.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I didn't even suggest that. You are making the argument. And of course, Unity Party, I too, not even Unity Party, all of these folks here. But the amazing thing here, in the midst of all of these things here, you embrace, you welcome some of the Unity partisans, some of the people who are so demeaning, so disrespectful to the president. And nothing wrong with build a sort of coalitions of so perhaps that's the direction that he went to.
Yeah.
But in 3 years, in the first half of his term, how come the very Unity partisans, the Liberty Party that have been contesting over the ages and they can't get anywhere, how come so quickly, so fastly that they were able to twist the whole thing around and redefine you and put you on edge like this?
But I think yesterday, Lofa Julius, right? He indicated to you. One of the interesting trends is that the opposition parties are not winning this election. You got more independents winning than the political parties. So there might be a disconnect between political parties and the Liberian people. I
I don't trust those people, independence and all of that.
But you don't trust them, but Liberian people trust them because, you take the ANC. One of ANC consider one of these bases to be Maryland. They are losing over there. So
why should you worry about ANC when you have your own deficit?
What I'm just telling you is that the political parties have not fared well in these elections. Independents have been doing better. You got a CPP. What is it? It's the vice chair for the CPP. Or the what is it? What is the other group called? COP. The vice chair for the COP. Menikaka Dumoy. He's barely reaching 1% of the vote in Buckhannon. So these institutions, these are
this is some of the dysfunctional group. They are part of a group that support another group, and they go and break it down. You have in Nima the entire one way who could not.
Exactly.
I mean, just so in the midst of that, and you guys still.
So that's what I'm saying to you. Look, that's what I'm saying to you. Look, the political parties in Liberia are not doing well, including our party. So that means that look, I tell you the truth. Look, with what we have, the position we are in.
Okay, this is what Prince Dubert of the Prince Dubert show. He also, for the most part, I don't know, but he also is who poach the message of the government. He said those independents will be taken to CDC. Is that what you guys banking on?
I'm not banking on that, but there's nothing wrong with that. If they come in and decide to join the CDC, so be it. We're not going to reject them. But I'm not banking on that. What I'm banking on is that we need to get to doing the people's business. We need to create more jobs.
So
we need to improve our schools. We need to improve our hospitals and well-equipped and well-staffed them. We need to bring the president. We need to take the president to the people more. Look, I've been saying it from behind the scenes for a long time. The president is charismatic.
The president listening outside of Capitol Hill, outside of the of state. Is he listening to the folks that out? Look, one of the things that kind of like get me stunning, the president, his presidency today. I can tell you, I have even becoming a contributor. We have had tons of interviews, Iseva, Toga, the Zakamant, and all of people, Jerry Bade in Canada. Most of you guys, for whatever reasons, CDC in diaspora contributed significantly to the presidency of but very few was selected. I'm not sure whether he's listening to you guys.
For everything, there's a season and a time for everything. The president had tons of people to consider, to look at, to get him to involve them in his government. He selected some people. He decided to keep certain people on the side.
Do you think from the upset of his government, let's look here, because if you go into this is something that he has contested more than 2 times. And so his first term impression should be something that should be for the tax. It's like you're going into a World Cup panel. The best of all players.
I think he
chose your selection. Do you think it was proper?
I think he felt he chose the best. Now, whether those
including the very Unity Party folks that you are talking about,
he felt he chose the best.
Look, I come in, Professor, because the thing in a government, we saw the establishments of the transition here. When you're going in a race and such a crucial stuff, thing like that, there are few key people that you must have on hand to represent your interests. But I was surprised to have folks like Len Eugene Nangwe for the president to say, stay on. That you are choosing a person who's going to be a mouthpiece, who's going to speak for your government, who's going to establish to give link to the outside world, those outside of Liberia. And this guy was he was very mean, he was very ridiculous to the president. Don't you see as a misstep from the initial start of his presidency?
No, I don't.
Alone.
I don't see it as a misstep. Look, the president and Mr. Honorable Nangwe had a very long history. And people make decisions in certain times in their lives and they go astray, and then sometimes they come back. Who are we to question their honesty when they come back and say, look, I did something wrong, I accept it and I apologize, and I want to work together. So I don't see it as anything wrong that he did. But what I would say is this: look, the president has to look into his cabinet. I've been very clear for this particular thing. Look, 70% of the ministers in our government, the full ministers, never ever go out there and mention the president's name in any of the outside appearance. Never ever mention the president's name. Never ever mention the Propo agenda. We got to look at those kind of people and question the loyalty and commitment to the government.
And can't he see?
Who see? The president?
Can he see when you have people, when there is an agenda that the government said or the president said, their job as ambassadors or as an emissary to the government, their job is to keep focus on the president agenda. You have what his name said, Eugene Fagon, on the other end, takes when he's supposed to be communicating with the international community, when he's supposed to fine-tune the government message to build effective relationship with the citizenry, even if they are pissed off, he's there hands on with the citizens and being very much some sort of, and the president, he knows that. It seems that those sort of soundbite he too likes, and he doesn't say anything.
I don't know what I know Minister Eugene Fagon is a very fine man. He's a man with a lot of passion and energy, and sometimes he speaks with a lot of passion and energy. I don't think
the House consider him as immaterial.
As what? Immaterial?
As an immaterial individual. The House.
No, look, let me tell you something. Look, the people will hate a person like Fagon because he talks it as he sees it. And even though sometimes I may not choose the kind of words that he uses, I may not take the kind of line of reasoning that he may take, but for the most, Minister Fagon is on point. He's on point, and he has become a beating rod for the opposition because they consider him as a threat. He speaks his mind. He talks about what's going on now, but I will also want to add here, look, his position in government, if I were him, I will do things a little bit differently because of his position in government. I will do things a little bit differently. But
is that immaturity? The response factor in? Is that immaturity?
Immaturity. So look, let me tell you something. Look, Mr. So, you know me. And I tell a lot of people who know me, my friend Anthony Kessley, former president of ULA, he called my wife his sister because they are both from the Mandingo tribe. And once he came to, not even once, many times he would come to my wife and say, "Wow, you married a different Isaac Zawolo," because the Isaac that I knew from campus of the University of Liberia was quite different. And now he's so, he's this kind of person. Look, let me tell you something. I was a person like Minister Fagon. I used to be like that. Very aggressive, very temperamental, and, just speaking up on the issues like, I speak it the way I see it. I have no empathy. I just said it the way I saw it. And it won me admirers. There were people who would call me and write me and say this thing to me, would like you, and you do everything. But equally so, it won me a lot of enemies. And so I had to take a stock, in life and say, you know what? Let me think about this. And then that's how I began to change and control my emotion on how I speak and those kind of things like that. And then, I was able to get more people coming towards me. Also, some people who stay up to this day can't stand me. So I think Minister Fagon, he's a fine man. I mean, being the spokesperson for being the position that he's in, I wouldn't speak with the tune. If I was him, if I was in his position, I wouldn't speak with the tune that he speaks in most of the time. I would tune down my rhetorics, and I would be more engaging of the people. But that's him. and I wouldn't want to criticize him because I think he does a fine job for the government. At least he's speaking.
It's not just on the
There are other
speaking,
people.
the substance of his what out.
But at least he's saying he's doing something. You got about 70% of the ministers who don't even mention the president's name, or can not even describe the poor agenda, or don't identify with the government. There's absolutely no way that we have the ministers based in the capital city, and we can now win an overwhelming majority within Monroeville.
Okay. Low work.
Mr. George.
Go ahead. Yeah. Joyce.
Yes, sir.
I guess you are situated here, and let me see what you can. Whether there will be some agreement here again with the professor. He said at least the minister can speak. It's not just only speaking. What he puts out there, what he throws out there to the people, the substance of what he put out there. I think that's what matters. Is it substantive? What he puts out there, Eugene Fagon?
No, I know Eugene Fagon personally. He and I mean, we ate together. I know him personally. But this guy is very divisive. This guy, Eugene Fagon, this guy is dangerous for any government. Here's a guy who talk about taking colors and putting in a car. Here's a guy who preaching the Congo narrative, Congo country, that to the point the president had to suspend him out of pressure, that the U.S. embassy have to call this guy off, Eugene Fagon. I don't have problem with anybody promulgating the government messages. I don't have a problem with it. But when you become very personal and divisive, that's where I take up issue with people. Eugene Fagon sat down there and said, they read it. They were sharpening the colors and thing. If anybody will come after George, we are. That's Eugene Fagon words. How can you be Minister of Information? Is that the message of the government?
And Professor Zavlopa Joyce, he knows that when Lamini Warite, Moses Washington, what his name said, Z Emmanuel Buya, the little on carpet, and when they were there, those were the people. I don't care how ugly it is. They will go and reconstruct and redefine the government to the international community. And I mean, even though people will still have that sort of apprehension, but the tone, the language, their communication, I'm not sure whether they even think what things that they are doing, whether they are aware that people, friends of Liberia, people accredited near the capital, they also monitor them. I don't know, or they just play to the soundbite of their supporters.
You know, like I indicated, look, in this day and age, I think the Minister Fagon, needs to tone down his rhetorics. And I indicated earlier today, I think this government has to move away from propaganda towards policy communication. So we need to bring in people who will be able to communicate the policies of his government better and stay away from the propaganda. I think Minister Fagon, yes, I agree, he has focused heavily on propaganda, and the tone sometimes are not being, I mean, it doesn't help our political situation. But let me also quickly tell you that, look, when you talk about the president being under pressure to suspend Minister Fagon, I hear a lot of people refer to it as being something that the United States government, the embassy of the United States did. I think it was very extremely unfair to Minister Fagon because the ambassador in Liberia, who was pushing, if it happened that the ambassador in Liberia was pushing the government of Liberia for a certain official Liberian government to tune down his rhetoric, that ambassador should have been thinking about what's going on in the United States, where a president called people from one country rapists, criminals, and all kinds of labels. So I think it was just unfair. If they did so, it was just unfair to Minister Fagon. Yeah, but I think we should be going beyond what Minister Fagon is doing. We need to move from the gear of propaganda towards communicating our policies. That's what we should be doing. And I'm very positive you're going to see that happening.
Okay. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, but Professor, the issue of Eugene Fagon,
This guy is his attitude, and he do that to demonstrate that he's a tough guy. Look at what transpired between him and Edwin Snow. Look at what transpired at that time. It was recorded on video. How belligerent he was at that time. This is the man, the second man in the Ministry of Information, the face of the government, spokesperson, behaving like that. These I think should be concerning a leader. When Eugene Wagon made that statement, because here's the thing, Professor, you cannot have it both ways. You people always accusing other people of making inflammatory statements that many times you put allege that has a potential or the propensity to create trouble in the country. But when Eugene Falcon is speaking like that, then the hierarchy of CDC is cheering him.
No,
They are cheering him when he's sending no kind of message out there. Oh yeah, he's a tough guy. Oh yeah, the person need him.
I don't.
It's just wrong. There's no way to put it. It's wrong. Okay, because if you are the second person in command to put out the government message, you should be careful with your tone. What you say. He go and sit down one corner. Oh, I'm speaking as an individual. Today I'm not minister. Come on. When you're a minister, you work 24 hours around the clock. There's no way you can say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to put a title that I'm not minister at this moment. No. So you go and sit down in one room and talk, make a whole lot of inflammatory statement, then you say, oh, I'm speaking in my primary capacity. I'm not minister. Where those ideas come from? And what happened in Morocco, or this election, it is a complete referendum on the president. Let me say this. And every time I used to say, this president is not speaking to the nation. And people say, oh, you want the president, the minister is speaking. I say, you people don't understand the purpose of the president. If that national anthem is playing, everybody will want to stop to hear what the president is about to say. I said, but you people don't understand. When there are certain issues in the country, people expect the president to address the nation. There are times the minister can speak, but there are times the president needs to appear to reassure the people, some assurance that, hey, I'm in control. I remember when the incident happened in Nimba, when the 40 boys got that landslide. And I was yelling over the top of my lungs. I said, the president needs to address this issue. And the president did not say a word. And people say, oh, what do you want the president to do? Everything the president must say. And I was telling people, no, you got 40 persons, young people, struggling to survive, buried on the ground, weeks. The people were there crying. I said, and the president did not get on the air to say a word to those people in our region. But I said, when 10 houses got burned in Popo Beach, the president read it and carried bags of rice here in Jefferson Kochi. What that speaks of the president of the people that they say he loved so much. Then when I asked, they said, oh, you've been very vindictive, you don't like the president. I said, because that was a cruel time. Popo Beach, that's a cruel area. 10 houses got burned. The president, they seen that the president went there, carried bags of right here in Jefferson Kochi, gave it to the people. 40 people got buried in Nima County. He did not say anything. He didn't say a word there. And I said, then you expect me to say, oh, the president cannot be everywhere at the same time? The Muslim school got burned in Pinsville. He went there. There were flood victims in Kakatan, in Bon County. The president did not say a word about those things. So you think, or CDC think, that the Liberian people or people from those areas don't have a feeling? And these are issues that I raise, and people tell me, I do not like the president. I
Do you
said,
like him? Do you like him?
as an individual, look, Professor, let me say this.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
No. Let me say this. I tell anybody, I don't hate anybody. But what I tell people my feelings. I said people will hate me because I express my feeling the way I feel. I don't hate people. I tell people I don't hate people. But these are the issues.
Pat George, let me give the professor a chance. I think Pat George kind of catalog some reality valid, concrete. They are not abstract. We saw it. It happens. Against the ruling party. Could that be some of the reasons, even though people might not come out loud, but as they were going on to campaign, and, people emotional feelings also factor into people's decision making. Do you think these are some of the reasons how this government, if not even the president, this government was defined?
Yeah. Look, Mr. Josh made very, very valid points. And, look, one of the things that have happened over time is that certain individuals have made the president to be distant from the people. And I don't think that was comforting. Everything Mr. Josh said here, just on point. In times of trials and tribulations, in times of crisis, the presence of the president can be consoling. The presence of the president, the voice of the president can be therapeutic. And I think those who are managing the president have missed the mark by not getting the president on some of those things. Look, for example, as being one of those people who admire the president and who's so committed to supporting his government, when there's any incident in McGibbey County, any kind of incident, I have tons of people all over McGibbey County. I will get that information. I will immediately act. And when I act, I will act not as a government official, but as an admirer, as a friend, as a brother of the president, to promote him. But the president has to do more. The president has to get out there. I've been telling the people, look, the president has to visit more markets. He has to visit more schools. He has to be to those trouble areas, to the ghettos. He has to attend to places where there are crises. The issue about rape, the president has spoken out on it. But I think visiting more of the rape victims, identifying with their families, not necessarily by giving them cash, but by, just visiting them and consoling them and assuring them of the government's effort to solve those, to prevent it from happening. I think those are areas that the president needs to do better. But again, it depends on the people who are managing him. So I think the people heard all those things. That's what I tell people. Look, it is good to be defeated in the midterm elections. So you got 3 more years to fix it. If the president wants to be a 2-term president, well, the ball is in his court. Some of us will be there to speak out, to share with him some of the things we are hearing from people like you, some of the things we are hearing from people, in the grassroots. We will be able to share with them, but not want to share. We'll be there to contribute and make it right. I would not want, I was associated with bringing this president to power. I would not want my legacy to be one that will be defined by a failing government. So, yeah, we're going to do all we can do to make the next 3 years to be the best years in the history of Liberia, fixing the wrongs and moving our country forward.
Let me serve sort of late hour dinner here and see. You talk about policy oriented. As far as I'm concerned, any ruling party establishment, it is the leadership, the executive of the party helps to drive the governing party's agenda, to set the agenda of the president or of the ruling party, because you have to do a lot of stuff. You have to go out to spot potential candidates, not just only candidate, a winnable candidate, people that really can get the message of the party going. Let's look at your party chairperson. All right. Now, he was the head of the last president, and I'm afraid, no seeing why it's unfolding now, the CDC most likely will be badly hit in this senatorial. We don't know yet, but for discussion purposes, do you think if it turns out to be that we are seeing coming out now, should he still be in charge of this party?
Not pretending we lost the elections in Monserrat. That's very clear.
No, I'm not even talking about Monserrat. We're talking about Bond County as a battleground. You are struggling in Bond County.
Yeah.
You're talking about Bomi County, where the president lifted a hand. The guy is underwater. You're talking about Mount Gibby County, lifted the hands of Alvin Jones. Former Speaker Nokwe is on his way to capital, and the list goes on.
Henry Yala, he went and lifted Henry Yala in Bond County.
Bond County, where he made a public pronouncement, either with us, again, there will be consequences. So I don't know what the interpretations of that were. But that's, do you think that the party leadership, don't you see some sort of surgical to reshuffle or structure within the party to set, to start from square one?
I think we should. I think we'll call. I mean, there are many of us inside who are calling for a party convention as soon as possible. And I don't know, but I wouldn't want to say anything about whether Chairman Molu is going to be chairman or not. But one thing I'll tell you is that I'm seriously considering running for the party secretary general position, because I think it's about time that we do more for our party.
So again,
I'm seriously considering running for the secretary general position for the CDC. I think it's about time that we step up.
Well, the folks, that would be a good thing. People of that keeps record, people of principle, organized people. But the thing here is, will the seditions in Liberia, the seditions on ground, will they be willing to accommodate to receive Professor Zaulo?
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I will have an opportunity to present my argument, but let's not make that to be the focus of this discussion tonight. I'm just saying I'm considering, I'm thinking about it, and I will encourage our party to go to convention as soon as possible. But I think I'll have an opportunity to present my case. If I present my case well, the people will vote for me. And if I don't present my case well, they might vote for another person. Whoever is going to be elected, I think right now what our party needs is that we need to have a national convention and begin to look at our leadership structure to make it more effective. Whoever will be re-elected or reappointed, whatever the case is, that will be decided by the people. But I don't think I don't think we can continue in this present direction. We continue to sustain loss after losses, and it's just unsustainable. And I would also encourage other party officials who may not be performing well to save the party an embarrassment by resigning and giving the opportunity to fresh blood to come in and move this thing forward.
Resigning, who was that tone specifically being directed?
No particular individual. I want everybody to take a stock of themselves and say, look, I think I might be a hindrance to this party. So I'm stepping aside.
Yeah, is $1 million question, and you know, and I'll bring in Pat Joyce to respond. And that's not on the CDC. That's the pattern. It's a consistent pattern with the political institutions in Liberia. I don't even consider them, for the most part, as political institutions, because record history has proven that. Where is the NDPR today? NDPR solely and barely look out to the late Samuel Doe as the owner of the party. People not paying due. They were not willing to bring in news generation. You go to the very Unity Party, the Helen Johnson Sirleaf did not put any mechanism in place as she was exiting to bring in new folks, prepare them for leadership. Here we are now in your party, the ruling establishment, CDC, everything squarely is centered around the president. Okay, he's the what I call a political leader. That's fine. But I'm not seeing anyone that is stepping or to allow anybody to prepare that even whether he's going to be there for 12 years, 24 years, at the end of the day, the institution must survive. So that is not being in place. By the time CDC leave tomorrow, we're going to see another resurrection of another political party with another remake again.
We're not going to let it. We're not going to let this party die. That's what I said. If it becomes necessary that some of us have to leave what we are doing to keep this party moving, we will do it. Look, this party is the masses party. We've over the years, over the last 3 years, we've lost touch of our base, and it's about time that we come back to our base. To do that, it might require that we go back to the individuals who made CDC to be a very formidable force in our country. And so some of us will not allow that to happen. CDC
that reconciliation, whatever it is, what sort of a term to employ now, I don't know. It will be extensive to some of the folks that left CDC, some of the people that left. There are a lot of people were hurt during the journey. And I know there's no successful revolutions without political revolution now, without pain, and without pain, no gain. But a lot of people felt very much alienated, and for which to turn their back. Will you guys get the courage to get those guys back on board?
I've already started to speak to some of the people who left, and not just me. There are many others who are speaking to other people who left, that we need to come back and help to redirect this ship, because there's an opportunity for us to succeed.
Yeah, and look, I'm worried. It's not just on the CDC. Even all of these folks that are flying all around now, CPP, I don't know how long this honey will last. Believe me or not, let's assume they take power tomorrow. It's going to be another hell on earth, because everybody wants to go to either MPA, LPRC, or RIA, or Maritime. We did this, we did that, and people will begin to be their self-glorification. And with due respect, Ambassador Boyka, come on, he's got to be in politics. By this time, they should be the doyen now to mentor the young people. If we still have those kind of people, what becomes the fate of our people? George, I know we are poking the eyes of the ruling establishment, because they are the big elephant in the room. How long will we see now after the May 10? I was asking George Lobo, who has also been the guy pushing the work of message of the opposition. After the May 10, when will we begin to see the collaborating force to begin to start the vetting of their candidate? When will we see that? Are they waiting on the eve of the election too before they kind of give her a surprise?
No, I think the collaborating party, they got an internal problem, and they are trying to work on it. But here is the issue, Mr. So. There's something taking place and happening now in Liberia. This senatorial election, the Liberian people sending a message. Those who are elected and those who are defeated. Because now there's something happening. So many people going in, but they will be looking over their shoulder, because they're getting the feel that these people can punish us at a baba if we doesn't perform. The status quo.
I think the Tea Party star is the one that equivalent to what happens in Liberia.
Yeah, the status quo is changing, because look at the ruling party, the amount of resources they put in Thomas Fowler. I mean, Samuel Tuwe, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of State, they were all there campaigning for Thomas Fowler. The president, they all. And the Liberian people say, no, this will not take it. Basel Estate, there's something there, but something is happening in Liberia. And I always say, because people are continuing to talk. The mistake that people made in the past was, oh, it's not my business. People do anything they want to do. They can do anything that the people that are on the time or that Liberian talk. But now there is something happening. Some of us now never engaged in this political process at this point, at this time, and the way some of us have become very vocal. We are never. Because some of us have said, hey, it's Liberia. If we erase everything, we erase it. But we want something positive to come out of Liberia. And if it means my best friend will not talk to me, fine. But if Liberia prosper, I'm okay. And this is why, and people in CDC, many of the hierarchy, they are not getting this message. You know, I hear people continue to say they are the masses party. But I try to somehow disabuse or dislodge my idea. And let me pose this, maybe Professor Zawo will help to expand on, maybe to give me further information. CDC ran twice in Liberia, lost both elections. The third time they ran, they were not able to get 40% of the vote, or 50 plus 1% of the vote uprighted. They had to go to form a coalition. Then the question, how popular is this party? They said that Ellen Johnson cheated them 2 times. Okay. Ellen Johnson was ordered away. They took on the vice president of the then government, and they were not able to win 50 plus 1% uprighted. They had to go for a second round. And that second round, they had to what? Bring in to form a coalition. Now the question today, I was sitting there wondering, so how popular is this party? So we have to take a step back.
The credit is where the coalition even survived before we got 2023.
So we have to tell, I was sitting there today wondering, when I hear the masses, the People's Party, is grassroots. But this grassroots party could not win. Single-handedly to pull out a win, 50 plus 1%. They had to go for a second round and form a coalition. And during the first round, they did not even get 40%. They got less than 40%. So the question now, when I get today, I saw a clip from CDC headquarters, Jefferson Kochidon was speaking. Here in Molba Molo, they are the masses party. And that made me to start reflecting. Okay, if you people say the first 2 elections you were cheated, and that person got out of the way, and I took on the party that allegedly cheated you people, and with that, people were not able to pull 40% or even 50 plus 1% to win upright. You had to form a coalition. Then where is this massive party coming from?
But then I think you're being unfair to the CDC. I think you're being very, very unfair to the CDC, because you know our Liberian political system. You have a country of about 5 million people. You have, I think today when I checked it, you had 19 registered political parties. That's the level of polarization we have in our country. So a political party that can boast about getting 34% of the population on their side, whereas the rest of the other political party hovering around each, individually, maybe the next contender would be around 20%. Indeed, that party, has the majority. Or they're when you talk about electionary in mathematics, there are different types of electioneering that you can talk about. We got a plurality, and you get a majority. So CDC may not have an absolute majority, but in terms of plurality, it is ahead of other political parties.
Oh, I do agree.
Yeah, and so that is something that we cannot take away from them. Now,
no,
because the level of polarization of our country, it is okay. If you know one political party, you see what the CPP is doing right now. No one political party can easily, win elections. So
coalitions are something that people would do, and I don't think that as you question why we can't just win upright like that, then I'll question why the other people why the other people can not win uprightly also. At least
Ellen Johnson won uprightly twice.
I didn't necessarily won uprightly twice. You didn't probably won uprightly twice now, but you got to take into consideration when the situation that brought Ellen Johnson Sirleaf first presidencies. It was a totally different situation. Another thing, one of the things that people don't take into consideration right now is the fact how our world has changed. With social media and the information superhighway, information can spread like even faster than the speed of light nowadays. Information moves so fast. People have become versatile. People have become more outspoken. People have become more involved and entrenched into politics than they were ever before.
Right. The people are involved a lot.
It's a challenge for political institutions. That does not exonerate political parties from delivering on their promises. So I think what I think the focus should be on now is not necessarily why is the masses party not winning already. I think what we should be what I think is important for us is that as a citizen, as a friend of this government, I think somewhere along the way we've lost it, and so now it's an opportunity for us to reassert ourselves as a masses party by putting into place those things that we said was going to put into place.
So, Professor, let's digress here a little bit, right? And as we talk about the ruling establishment, we will pivot to look at and profile even the very group now that thinks in their favor. Apparently, in their favor, they are the opposition as well. Let's look at the start, the manner in which the GOL, the government of Liberia, the CDC wage war campaign. Do you think that was strategic? Was our winning strategy? You have things were extremely hard. People are crying in the country, and you have a guy who is a ways and means guy who is close confidant of the president, and was what I call financial violence was being applied politically to ATM and all of that. Don't you see that as a poor strategy that was used by the ruling establishment going into such a consequential election? Who have I?
I didn't get the beginning part of it. I was a little bit distracted. Can you just go over that again, please?
Yeah, I was asking. Let's look at the how the ruling party CDC wage war campaign, especially with Fala, because that's the seat and one of the seats they've desperately really needed to solidify their political strength. And this guy, ways and means guy, close confidant of the president, and was using financial violence. I gave him money to potentially exchange for votes. That's a pro-poor code right there, indirectly or literally. Was that a good strategy? Who asked him, considering what was going on going within this country, cost of living and all of that? Who advised? Who gave such a strategy?
I don't know if anybody was buying votes. I don't know about that. I mean, you see, our country is a place where people can just make allegations, and sometimes these allegations are not backed with facts. So I won't want to delve into that. But yes,
when you say allegation, we saw there's a video out there giving money, and his supporting people calling ATM machines. So it doesn't
necessarily mean that he's buying votes.
What he was doing, being humanitarian.
People can be generous sometimes. People can be generous.
I want to see that generosity continue after the election.
It doesn't have to continue. What's wrong with being strategically generous? So it doesn't have to continue. The bottom line is that the man was generous. At some point. No, you know what? Let's on a serious note. I frown on any individual who will want to, use money as an enticement for vote. I tell you this. Look, for the past 5-6 years, I have been
besieged by people from my little town, Kakata, about running as a representative for district number 4, which covers Kakata, most parts of Kakata, going towards the Bon Mine area and the Conla Mission area there. And so I had the opportunity to engage and talk to people. And these guys come to me and tell me, well, Mr. Zaolo, you can win this thing. Everything's all set for you. I say, okay, good. Good. Then the same people come back to me and tell me, but right now what we need is $2,000 to start this whole process.
$2,000
US dollars. You start the whole process. And those things come repeatedly. They come back to me every time. And I tell them that, guys, listen to me. If I'm this popular, that the people want me so much, why do I have to give them money to start the process? Can they start the process for me, knowing that I'm the person who wants?
You gotta kick the process off.
So yeah, so and so I personally will never ever do such a thing to put money up front. Yeah, because here's the thing. You can't sustain it. You will not be able to sustain it. Like Mr. George said, let's see what's going to happen in the future. You can't sustain it. In that same light, I'll tell you another story. This guy, the late Adolph Lawrence, we happen to have a mutual friend. And so around that time when these people are coming to me with all these stories, and I talked to our mutual friend, and he talked to Adolph. And Adolph said, man, tell Isaac, even if he's thinking about doing that, he won't be able to sustain it, and he should not even initiate or try with people. Look, money cannot buy loyalty. It can only attach that person to you temporarily. So I don't think I don't think Representative Falab engaged in that. I think he's very smart enough to know that, giving a person money today doesn't necessarily mean when the person goes to vote, when you are sitting at home, that person is going to vote for you. I think he was just being generous if he did that. And there are some people who are very generous.
I think my own assertion here on the other flip side, I don't think he was that accessible. I could be wrong as compared to Darius Dillon, who was out there, put himself, empathize with the plight of the people. He didn't see himself as a senator. He was always visible. He's turned himself to a political satire, make fun out of himself and all of that. And so that sort of connection was also, I think, that's factor in. And Thomas Fallard, to be honest, he didn't make himself visible. I don't know what was the case. Pa George, you want to respond before we can begin?
Yeah, what happened? These guys continue to abuse the Liberian people, especially the younger folks, continue to play on the children emotions. What do I mean by this? They try to entice them because the way the country looking, Mr. Soul, is such a way that the society looking up in a way that you have to look up to certain people to give you certain handout to survive. And that's what I call the paper bear syndrome, which I all tell people, I hate it. Do not make people or create the impression that someone will have to survive, will have to get something before they can survive. So what because the situation, the economic situation in the country is so desperate. So what they do when election coming, that when they go into the area and throw out the $5, $10, then they say, oh, he's free-handed. That's the term. Oh, he's free-handed. But to me, I would say you are enticing these people because it's not normal. Don't do it because you will not be able to sustain it. But you do it because you want something from them. In order to get that, you give them $5, $10. Then they say, oh, the man is good. How can this man be good? All year round, he never visited you. He don't know how you eat. He don't know how your children eat. He don't know how you go to school. He come back now, he tells you, oh, I'm the guy. Let me do it on time for a little bit. You build an institution. You put one impression that the school is free, I'm giving you scholarship. Then you go behind and take money from government. But you don't tell the students that government is subsidizing the institution. It is why you are learning maybe at this level, or this is why you are paying because the government gave me some. No, they don't talk it. They say it's free. You go and build a college. The college is a private institution. It is your investment. It is your retirement. But you put the community on an impression that I'll build a college for a community. This is the kind of thing people are doing in like people politicians know. And it's not just, I always say it's not just President, we are government. These are things that happened way back before. People were in government, they went to build one school. Then they say, oh, the man built the school, but the money comes from the people. Those are the people money they use, but they say the school is for the man. He built the school. Not telling the people that, hey, it's funds being allocated for government, for central government. I'm just someone who is instrumental or from this area that this project is being built, but it's not known. They never. And it's the same thing to do to that continuance that people are doing in Liberia.
Okay.
So, but the whole thing here,
Mr. So,
is
at least, you know, and I understand, I don't know the facts, you know, that Mr. George has just brought forth. I don't know the veracity of the argument he's making. But here's what I would say. At least he built a school.
Professor?
No, at least he built a school. The area that Mr. Falah has his school has been an underserved area for a very long time. You know the area he has his school, right?
Yeah, I know the community.
Do you know about the existence of very quality schools in that area?
No.
Prior to him doing it, so at least he's rendering a service to that community. And I know I have people, I work with people, some of the people who work at Mr. Falah's school, they also work for me. And I'll tell you one thing, he has transformed that community. His work has transformed that community. And looking at a country where people, you know, otherwise could take money and not give back to their communities, I think at least let's honor him.
No, Professor, let me hold you there. Professor,
yeah.
If that is a line you want to thread, then it's wrong, Professor.
Why?
Yes, my take. If you build a private institution, that's a private thing. Mm-hmm. I admire anybody for that. But do not put the people on an impression that you want to help them solely you're doing it and you're taking money from government. He himself admitted during the debate that I think they had, he said debate. Mm-hmm. He said the money was from the internet for 24,000. Mm-hmm. But he had told the student that the school was free and getting money from government on behalf of the students. That's being dishonest. If you want to do it, tell them that government is subsidizing you for attending the school.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I didn't watch that part you're talking about.
It's that because they don't have the former superintendent brought a document and they don't brought a document and show him and with the names of the students and the money that he did receive from the Ministry of Internal Affairs, but had a student on the impression that it was free. Now those are the things I question. Because you can't do like that as a leader, as a stakeholder. You can't do like that. Yeah. Then you're not being honest. But if anybody like
so we're going to be taking few phone calls and then we will call it for the night here. But here is $1 million question, and I just need your own opinion. 2 days ago, I did hear the president call Edwin Melvin Snow to congratulate him for a win. First batch came up yesterday, second batch today. Today, Darrell Dillon 69.9%, which 107,644. Thomas Falah 36.2%, .995. This is a double. The gap is huge. You alluded to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and tomorrow another
Yeah.
batch will surface.
Here's the thing here, and Professor, the map don't lie. The map don't lie. The map doesn't lie. But here's my take it.
Yeah.
I saw the clip from CDC headquarters today.
Yeah.
And Jefferson Koji and Mala Molo was saying the votes are coming. The vote, and my question now is, if all these people they don't know they have the tally sheets, they know the numbers that they have, and the election commission giving these kind of results. So where is that vote going to be manufactured from?
I
think I answered that question earlier.
You see,
I think I answered that question earlier. Look, let me be honest with you. I have.
Is that part George's question? You're talking about my question.
Your question.
Professor Zawa, I got you.
Let me ask my question. Let me introduce, then you can just put them all. Okay. And you said the president, I did hear you saying the president, he takes responsibility. And I think this is where sometimes people have to see your real self. You know, it's hard. You know, it's hard when somebody is hard to fall down. But let's see what's going to happen tomorrow. Again, if history repeats itself tomorrow, do you think then the president should step up to the task and say, "Hey, Darrell Dillon, congratulations"?
I can't tell the president how to carry himself out. I know that.
Your own opinion. If you're in that case, will you do that?
I'm not in the president's situation, so I cannot be hypothetical yet and say what if I was in that case, what would I do? I'm not there. So when you are in that position, there are other facts, there are other information you have that can inform your decision. But here's what I would say: the president is a strong adherent of democracy and the democratic tenets, and he respects the will of the Liberian people. He's demonstrated that always. When Mr. Yeke went to Grand Gide and there was skirmishes involving or some tension involving him, the president came up and said that opposition people should be allowed freely to move and campaign in Liberia. So the president is a man of his words. I am very certain if the president believes that congratulating Mr. Dillon is appropriate, he will do that. He will do that.
Is it appropriate? Is it appropriate thing for you to do? If is that? But do you see that as appropriate considering these numbers, the figure coming? Do you see it appropriate?
First of all, you have to take into consideration two things. One, the president had a candidate that he supported in these elections. The president has to respect that candidate. So if the president has to respect that candidate, that's the first thing. The second thing about it is that the election commission has maintained. I don't agree with it. The election commission has maintained that only the election commission can declare a winner in these elections. So perhaps the president is taking those two things. Will take those two things into consideration. One.
And why he didn't take that into consideration? He called Edwin Snow to congratulate him.
Maybe he took that into consideration. Maybe he did. You don't know the facts that he has. Maybe certain information has reached him. Maybe the candidate he supported in the race, like I said, has already conceded. So once that candidate has done that, the president, could, if he decides, to then acknowledge the victory of another person. But when you have a candidate in the race, a candidate has not conceded yet, it's a fine line you got to toe. You got to show the president deference. And so the president has all of those things into consideration.
Okay, so we didn't talk about the opposition here. Let's talk about them. Okay, it's now they are having peanut butter and jelly. Everything seems to be going fine now, but we don't know what's going to happen down the road. The opposition get a stepchild that is attached to them, which is the COP that they have advocated in the long run to be attached. In fact, one of the interviews, they wanted some sort of a position. I don't know what sort of position, what sort of attachment they're going to be making to the collaborative force. Pa George. Was any apprehensions on the future of the CPP and that of the COP? How those two groups were going to happen? So, any guess game?
They will play up, Mr. So. Let me say this, Mr. So. The COP, they say they are a pressure group. And if you're a pressure group, you cannot be demanding for political positions. Okay? If you want to throw your support behind an institution, then go as a political group. And for example, Manipaga Dumont, I told you, and you saw me, I was one of those who are not campaigning against him. And you know, I don't have my feeling. I said that Manipaga Dumont will not win anything in Bon County. And I said, because the reason I gave was that this man said Charles said that he's a role model, he's his godfather. And he took Charles that picture to put on a van to carry the Bon County to tell the people that they should vote for him. I said that was an insult to the people of Bon County. And this guy is from the COP. This man who does not believe in war crime, the war crime that could have someone are forgetting, but he doesn't believe in it. So these guys, some of them will be just baggage. They will leave by the wayside. Let me say something. Dallas Dunn has his own feature. He will not allow his feature to be damaged by the COP. What happened in Morovia? Or we are speaking to the emotion of the people, the economic hardship that confronting the Liberian people. And that's why you see they gravitate towards some of us when we say certain things. It's not that under normal circumstances, it will happen, they will question you. And this is why, because of that situation, the COP taking advantage of this hardship the Liberian people are going on, young people, and they speak to that anger. But where is the alternative? And what we're seeing now, it will be very difficult for people to continue to play on the people's emotion, because when they gave you power, they want dividend. The room for mistake is too narrow.
Right.
Too narrow. You saw when President Weah came to power, you saw how the people, the expectation were very high. That, yes, he's going to deliver. 6 months, things started to fall apart. Reality starts setting in. And you know, one thing I said, if CDC had 10% of Professor Zawul, I think the future of CDC will be very bright. Because Professor Zawul can admit that, yes, things are not going the way and things are wrong and we need to make some changes. But you look at the CDC, no. See, and coming back now to this group here, Mr. So, all the political parties, everybody know what is happening. That is why you see so many leaders don't want to attach themselves fully to the COP. Because there's something that if you go in fully, when it engulf you, you'll find it very difficult. Because sometimes the rhetoric that comes from there's so many people, the member mouth, is something to run you out. And if any political party want to buy into it, they will pay a price tomorrow. The COP have to be very, very careful. They have to recalibrate themselves. If they want to come as a political group, fine. But pressure group, you cannot be telling political parties you want the position before you can support them. No. Yeah.
Formally, I didn't say COP was a political party. I said COP is talking to my main formula, I said COP is a stepchild to CPP. And that's the fact. Professor, you want to respond to what you think going to happen?
Look, this is what I say. They got indicated repeatedly tonight. The opposition did not fare well in these elections. The opposition political parties did not fare well. So there's no celebration, I think, that should be taking place. The COP, I would consider it as a terrorist organization.
The COP?
Yeah.
That's more language.
Yeah, I know why I say so, and you should be able to classify it as a terrorist organization by the things that they do.
Nah, I won't go that far.
Okay, yeah, but you wouldn't go that far, but you would go that far to call the government a criminal entity, also, right?
To call who?
The government.
Oh, I said normally I say allegedly because there are some alleged things that they have done that have led me to say such.
But so that's what I'm saying to you. It's the same thing with the COP. There are things the COP has done that will make me to say that it's a terrorist organization. When the U.S. government is designating organization as terrorist organization, they don't go to court first before they try them and say that this Al-Qaeda is a terrorist organization. They base it based on the activities of the organization. The COP is a criminal terrorist organization, and Liberian people should be very wary about that kind of institution. The leaders of the COP, they are a major menace to the peace and tranquility in our country. Something that so many people fought and died for. And we should be very, very careful as we embrace such a group of people. The leaders of the COP, you know, some of the ones people push forward as the leader of the COP. You listen to the language they use. You hear the threats they use. So those are not people that can be trusted. Now let's go back to the political part. Like I said again, the political party did not win these elections. They lost heavily. The main opposition political party, they lost heavily. And there's opportunity for all. The COP, there's opportunity for the collaborating political parties, the other political parties, and the CDC to go back and recalibrate. Look, the problem in Liberia is simple. And the problem in Liberia, but when it comes to governance and maintenance of a political power, it will be difficult moving forward for any institution, for any political party who come to power. It's going to be challenging. We have serious issues. We have monetary issues that we haven't been able to resolve. We have the dual currency that's existing in our country. Then we have a discussion about going to the eco monetary zone. We have too much shocks in our economy. The volatility of our economy will continue to threaten the financial basis and status of our people. You know, the key things that drives our economy, like gas and petroleum products, we do not have stability in those kind of things. And not just this government. It has been this way for as long as I've known myself. During the dual leadership, there were many times where we had gasoline shortage, we had rice shortages, we had all of these things. And these are things that we as a people have to find a way to resolve. Now, here's the interesting thing. Now, one of these political parties today are telling you what they're going to do. All they are telling you is that the CDC is misleading the country. They're not telling you how the CDC is misleading the country. But people are banking on their talk.
But Professor Sao, let me go there right there. Let me go there. What was your message when you're coming to power? Your message was that this government, the government at the time, was corrupt, was doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
And you were coming to fix it.
Yeah.
Now, they gave you power. Now, when they gave you power, the situation continued to go downhill.
I don't know what's going downhill. Situation is not downhill.
Professor.
Yeah.
Now, let's be real.
Yeah.
Today,
my
friend coming from Morovia, he went to, I think, 6, 7 ATM machine. No money in the machine. And you know, people, maybe I might be wrong, but people are calling me the shortage of the local dollar on the market. Those are economic problems. Those are the monetary problems.
That's not, I don't think that's happening today.
Let me
So
play.
No, hold on. That, but even if it's happening before, but yeah, my argument is we cannot continue to maintain the same status quo. Every time we say it happened before.
I didn't say
It happened before. No, we want to make progress. And if we continue to do it on the path, I mean, we'll not move forward.
Okay.
But let me just, Mr. Soldier, hold on. You mentioned the COP being a terror organization. The Senate Mayor of Monrovia, who is the youth league chairman of the ruling party, said a minute is on tape that blood and flesh will waste in Liberia if anybody try anything.
Okay.
Well, should I classify it as being, or should I classify the government being a terror organization or that group?
Did you hear? Did you listen? You want to restate the statement? You want to restate it? He said that flesh and
blood will waste.
Will waste if anybody what tries something.
To move it, he said, yeah, that was his statement. But good thing that statement. That statement.
It's a conditional statement.
What would be a conditional? But if I say, if
so
I declare,
what do you expect him to say?
Let's see. Let you get. Are you driving in the context as to how the change of government we want to be there? That's what people resist. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, Professor.
No. Here's what I'm saying.
What
He said,
what is the condition?
well, it's conditioned on if somebody. He said if something happens, if people violate the laws, if people continue to impede the free movement of people, if people continue to undermine the economy of the country, there are clear consequences. He did not.
That is flesh and blood. There's no law and order.
Flesh and blood, but law and order could be through flesh and blood.
No, that was not the context he was speaking.
How do you know which context was he speaking in? I didn't hear.
Because people got hurt from the statement he made. People got hurt.
Where was it? When did people get hurt? Where?
The incident in Bonneville and at the Unity Party headquarters. There are tapes there. You can go there and look at it.
But
when Jefferson led a group of men.
Where?
Professor. You mean during the district? Which district? Are you talking about?
Lies. You have people.
When Dylan was, I think Dylan, when they were having a Dylan celebration when the first election when he won.
That was not the case.
That was this guy.
Let me take the call here quickly here, guys. So we can call it for the next. Hello, caller.
Yeah, hi. This is Prince Double.
Okay, Prince Double, welcome. Yeah, go ahead.
You hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been listening to your show, and thanks for this kind of discussion.
And I've been listening to, I think for the past 2 or 3 days, Pastor Papa George, Mr. Toe, and the professor. At least, to move that nation called Liberia forward, discussing issues of importance, they kind of issues, national issues. I listened to your guests, and the professor is taking responsibility for his party's actions. That they need to do better, that the laws, that they need to do better in setting, even talked about, how he can get to some of his party's officials to make the president accessible to the people. I mean, these are things that we want to hear about our nation. But on the other hand, the oppositions and those who criticize the government need to be honest to themselves. I listened to the tone of Papa George. Anytime a question comes on with the opposition, he kind of throw his stone and sugarcoat things. The nation won't go forward when people get involved into doing those kind of things. If something, Mr. Paul, you know me. If something is wrong, I tell you it's wrong. If something is right, I tell you it's right. That's how the nation will move forward. But I cannot speak because this man is the party that I support. So therefore, I will talk. We have to get rid of those things. But this is a very good discussion. But the Pop George need to understand. He needs to. These are elders. and we take a lot of good advices from them. So he needs to be honest to himself and be honest to the show.
You're describing as being.
It is good to be a critic of the government, but at least you should criticize your own.
You're describing or being biased.
Or the COP or terrorist organization, or an organization that will get up in the morning and put tires and burn tires in the street, block traffic, burn tires in front of embassies.
Citizen never did that.
The free movement of other citizens who has nothing to do with the government. And you
citizen did not carry a casket of any.
The leader of the group is saying that he's going to drag the president like a market dog in the street of Liberia. And you consider this group to be a second of an honest group? This is a violent group of people. We got to speak out against these kind of people so the children like coming cannot follow these kind of footsteps of these people.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Prince.
For Mr. George.
Okay, let me go to this other number 301 number 1826. Are you there? 301 1826. Caller, are you there? 301. Hello, guys. $301, are you there? Okay, I'm not sure why. Okay, are you guys hearing me?
Yeah. Okay,
I don't know. There's a caller.
But Mr. George was just.
Yeah, I don't know this person calling by. Let me see. Hello, caller.
Yes. This is Kef Hassan, and how are you guys?
Yeah, good evening. So welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sitting here listening to Mr. Amos George. Sometimes it worries me and it takes me back and to how we end up having 250,000 people die in Liberia. It's the idea of Mr. George on the show. You have the professor would take responsibility of some things, but he don't take responsibility. He claimed that he know in Eugene Fagon, and what he explained tells me that you don't even know who in Eugene Fagon is. I've seen him, maybe interact with him, but he don't know him. Saying eating with somebody, you don't even know the person, you know. And he come on platform and change the narrative and change our people ideas, shape their ideas into thinking things wrongly. And this is the problem in Liberia, because he have experience and age on his side to know that when we feed our gullible society with certain things, and that's how our people are going to go. And this is one of the reason that brought war into and Liberia. The gentleman who just left talked about tire burning, and he talked about casket. The casket was a symbol of sedition who was killed under Ma Ellen. And the tire burning was completely an act of bringing destruction into our nation. It realized that we fought war. We should not even be burning tire. Heron Costa took credit for burning tire, and Mr. George cannot condemn that. And this is the problem that we're facing. We feed our people with lies because of hate, and now we change our nation to vote on the idea of hate, not the idea of and development of what would and this person would do for us. They went and vote because Darius Dillon said, "I'm the light." What that means, I'm the light. because he go there and being bombastic on the president, on everybody. That's what we want. Or we should vote for somebody who will fight for the Liberian people across the aisle to see what bill and things to pass for us to have a development for Liberian people. Liberian people have suffered so much. So, Mr. George, and think about the suffering of Liberian people. Condemn Costa talking about and taking responsibility of the burning tires. We have to look what's best for Liberia, not because you don't like this president. We who support this president, we will come to do this. But you guys would not come out and say nothing. All you want to see this country should go.
Caller, please. Hold on 1 second. 401 number. Please lower your monitor.
You're looking at. You guys happy not because Darius Dillon is going to pass a bill that will benefit the Liberian people. You're happy because George Weah was defeated. All I see on Facebook, George Weah is defeated. We will take him from there. What about the old man who wants and to feed and her children? What about that old man who wants to send her children and to school? What about the WIAC fee? What about the transformer that is being and carry on in Monrovia right now? What about development? What about things? You know, you talk about money not in the bank. Instead of you explain to the people that this is an issue that happened in Black Africa. Business people, once the US dollar is dropping, they withdraw the money from the bank and keep it home. And the central bank is an autonomous agency. The government is not lending central bank because central bank since last year June is being
Yeah. Are you there? Caller, are you there? Hello there. Caller, are you there? I'm not sure what's going on out of there now. Okay. I gotta get them off and go back to the guys. Pa George, hey Leo.
Yeah. You know,
Leo, are you hearing me? Leo, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I'm
Yeah,
here.
good. Okay. Okay, good. Pa George, let me go. Caller, go ahead quickly. 267, are you there?
Thank you, Mr. So. Thank you very much. Look, don't give the president trust this evening. Let me give him trust. I've never given him trust before. I heard the professor saying he can't tell the president to concede. The president have already conceded. If you can see Jabasi Fuji coming up today talking, Mike Javate coming up today talking to me, I believe the president will come or either tomorrow or day after to concede to the law and tell the law, say, law what to tell them. But the only thing that also means though, when I heard Thomas' father saying today, the Liberian people fool him. They will put Liberia back into a darkness, Monrovia, into darkness because of the transformer they draw. They don't really August well with me. And I will send you the tip, Mr. So, right after here. I will look for my brother Carol and send him the tip. And
send it to me too, because
that's what we want in Liberia. What we want in Liberia is unity. Our country suffered for 40 or broken years. Excuse me, sir, with senseless war that started between Brazilians and the Barians. We don't want these things to happen no more in Liberia. But I believe that peace will come into our country and everybody will enjoy Liberia. For those of us that are in this country, You can be deported from here, but you will never be deported from Silver County District. You will never be deported from Toll Town. So let all of us keep our peace. Let the result finish. Let's see what that we will do for the coming days or years. He still have 3 years on his sleeves, though. We should remember things can turn around. We'll go about the Mr. So to go back home and serve our people. Thank you very much.
Why is he sending me back home to go about? Okay, Pajoy, hold on. Leo, okay, welcome to the forum. Better late than never. We still have a few minutes. Let me just allow you to set up, but we are taking a review. I'm quite sure you've been monitoring from your end the senatorial, the races ongoing and seeing the numbers coming. Whether there was a lesson learned from the ruling establishment, and of course we have to also look at critically the opposition. How prepared are they? Like the points Zablo raised. Yes, George, we are, but what is the policy? What do they have in store for us? Or are we going to get into another surprise? Who is the candidate now that they have? The Senate, they coming put the race behind us. Are they beginning the process to do the vetting tool to know who's going to be on top of the tickets? Those are critical things that we are looking at here. And I know you've been having your own podcast. You've been speaking out loudly and clearly, precisely on some of these issues here. I know you just come in, but you're not strange today. You've been watching the process. Is the race for Mosorado, is it concluded? Are you there, Leo?
I think so. So far, I think the race is concluded. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, good. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I think if you actually say, I think the race concluded so far.
What's going on with us?
Because if you look at everything from all angles right now, the trend has consistent. Can you still not hear me? Let me see if I can relocate myself.
Yeah.
Is it better?
Yeah, much little better.
Okay, I think if I switch, can you hear me now, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
I was saying, I think given the consistent trend we've been seeing, is becoming more and more obvious every day that I think it's a full conclusion. But there are a few things I would like to draw people's attention to that they're overlooking. I think, first of all, we must give the government of President George Weah a big kudos for conducting a very free, fair, and largely peaceful process. It's not as simple. Many African countries have struggled to conduct simple elections, and this is not about being partisan or not. I think the government did extremely well in trying to exercise restraint, in trying to avoid escalating any tension, and the elections went off. And so far, everyone seems to be satisfied with the process in terms of how votes are being tallied and being counted. But another thing also, I think those who are winning need to be very careful. This whole attitude of winner takes all, where because you're winning, you put on this very arrogant posture, of castigating the losers and everything. We have to remember, after the elections is governance. And governance cannot be by one party, not by the ruling party or the opposition. You're going to need two sides coming together to govern. So I really want to speak to the opposition, especially those who find themselves on the winning side. They should be graceful winners now and start to reach out to the other side rather than trying to humiliate them, rather than trying to bash them, because you're going to have to govern after all of this is said and done. And I would say to the side that's losing, whether it's the CDC or any other side, to also be graceful and accept defeat in grace and still be able to know that CDC is still the ruling party and they will still have to go about the process of governing, which will mean we would need everybody, both the opposition lawmakers and the government, those on the government side. Because if we don't, we again will suffer because there'll be a deadlock. If the opposition stays on its side and the government stays on its side, we're in for trouble because there will be nothing that can get done simply because everybody will be divided right down the aisle. So I'm hoping that those that end up winning, whether you're opposition or government, will be graceful enough to try and stop the public humiliation of each other so that they can leave room for collaboration to be able to work together and govern and do the people's job after the elections are over.
Professor Raul,
Yeah.
I think that's a critical observation.
Yeah, I think he's on point. He's on point. You know, and that's the same message I've been sharing. And in this whole thing, the Liberian people are the winners, and we have to be extremely grateful to the government for allowing our people to exercise their franchise. I've said this, you know, over the last couple of days. I will hope what the young man said about the being able to reach across the aisle so that we can put the Liberian people business above everything. I would hope to see that happen. Given the history of politics in our country, I think that'll be a tall order, you know, to see. So yeah, I think, you know, he's just on point. Yeah, let's hope that this time we can see something different. You know, Liberia is the one common denominator that we all have, and there's so many things that we need to do in our country to put our people in a better position. I continue to say, look, we took 20 years plus of war. It took us back. So the things that we should have been doing today, we might be doing it 20 years from now. We are right now at the moment, we're trying to catch up with like trying to get electricity all over the country, things that we had before, providing pipe-borne drinking water all across the country, things that we had before. So yeah, you know, we have again, it comes down to the same thing. We have a very small margin, small room for error, and we need to take it seriously. I just wanted to say, I think one Comfort Henry was asking me whether I was a professor or teacher at KRTD when she was there. When you were at KRTD, I was a baby. The person who was your teacher at KRTD or who you knew from KRTD was my dad. So I just wanted to let Comfort Henry know. I am Isaac Zawolo Jr. I'm my father's. I'm the dad of the person who you know to have been working at KRTD in the 80s.
George.
Yeah.
Leo inserted something different into the conversation here. Now, will that sort of consensus because, and he's quite correct because it's all about having consensus, having the sharing notes and passing pieces of legislations for the good of the country and working in a bipartisan way. I've not seen that happening. We saw the rape issue, even the killings that went on. I never saw Nyomli Kanga calling Fala, even calling Darius Dillon. Everybody were just doing their own things. They were just campaigning. They couldn't come together for the good of the country. So there's no evidence that it will even happen. Why? Because they get their supporters, they get their base that they perhaps they listen to. Don't talk to the people. They will not listen. I don't care how you talk to them. That's not how politics work. Other than that, you would not make no headway. Will there be any courage for people to say, okay, the election is over? Let's get on the drawing table. Let's look at things that are applicable now for the Liberian people. We can sort that out and try to dwell on other things that are, that perhaps not feasible now. Would that happen?
The leadership will have to set that tone. The leadership. And this is why people, I think some of your callers, but they don't like that.
Yeah, that'd be fair. Yeah? The leadership.
I come in.
You can get their leadership. The governing party get their leadership. So
listen, what I mean, listen, Mr. So here is the point here. In the legislative body, the lower house, the speaker, the Senate, the pro tem. Anything you want to discuss, if the speaker doesn't bring on the floor, it cannot be brought on the floor. The same thing, the Senate. If the pro tem don't agree, that will not be placed on the floor for discussion. So when I mean the leader have to set the tone, because in the past we are witnessing some of the argument. I think remember you saw that table about the budget when they don't say The protest only brought the paper and say sign. And when he asked, they say, you don't sign, that's it. And that's how the budget was passed. So, and this thing is not hearsay. You see this thing playing on the social media live. But when I speak, people say, oh, you always critical of the government. You know, Mr. So, Monipaka Dumont, and even the CPB, I didn't come on the platform to question Monipaka Dumont. You know the COP leadership. I had called them out on the show here. But it, like when you say something at certain time, people don't disagree, then they say, oh, you don't like the government. But anyway, that's their feeling. Here is the thing here. This election, I think the leadership of both forces, now they have to sit down to re-examine themselves. How can we move this country forward, working with the opposition? I mean, these people who have been elected from the opposition. Because there's no way again you can
with opposition dialogue.
Hold on now. Equally so, the same thing goes to the opposition. And the burden here rests on the ruling party, Mr. So, because if they don't come out, they come out and say, look, this is the budget you are proposing. This is how we look at it. If they are genuine, if both who are genuine will sit down and say, okay, look, this is where we can meet. This one, yeah, this is the compromise we can reach. But it wasn't like that before. So now, as Olio said, both parties, they have to sit down, go to the table or go to the drawing board and figure out that, look, how can we move this country forward? Because it's no more again that we got majority. We just pass anything that we want to, whether opposition agree or doesn't agree, we will go.
All right. Leo.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little twist.
Yeah, you open a new Pandora box into the whole. So there seems to be a kind of little struggle, power struggle. One side, the ruling party have to set the tone. They get a speaker, they get a pro tem, this and that. So who should initiate this?
I think it's on both. Politics is an interesting thing. Based on the trend that we've seen, if that trend continues, is public sentiment or a wave of public support going the opposition's way? If the trend continues, we haven't seen the final results yet, so I don't want to presume anything. But if the current trend that we are seeing happening, if that trend holds until NEC pronounces the final results, then clearly it will mean the opposition has an upper hand here, which means the people of Liberia have expressed dissent over the way they feel their government has performed for whatever reason. That means the opposition also has real power. And I often say this, if the government fails to lead, or if the leadership of the House fails to lead, that doesn't also excuse the opposition from failing to provide leadership, because leadership is not just up to one side. And let me say how the opposition can provide leadership. Clearly, the government is going to be in a tight position to have to find opportunities to compromise, because they're looking at the trend. And even if they're not, a lot of the things we see in politics comes down to posturing, right? If it comes down to where the opposition leaders are posturing and trying to be blissful in their support that they're getting from the public to hold their grounds, it becomes a serious problem. And if you listen to the politics in Liberia, people spend a lot of time talking about the things they disagree about than the things they agree about. There are a lot of things that we agree on. We agree on the fact that our hospitals are in ruins. Our healthcare is a mess. We agree on the fact that our education system is in tatters. But nobody, I don't hear people spending a lot of time talking about that. I hear people spending a lot of time. So maybe the opposition might have an opportunity too to shift the conversation. We cannot overlook Senator Darius DeLon. He literally shifted the conversation over the last few months. Let's be honest about that.
He defined the government?
I say that?
He defines the government?
No, he doesn't defy the government. He kind of leads, because what happens is whether it gets passed in the House or in the Senate or rejected, judgment day will come. The Liberian people will decide who's providing leadership. So it's not, leadership is not just about, oh, when your bill gets put on the floor, or when the speaker gives you a chance, or when the pro tem gives you a chance. No, leadership is all of the things that you do that the government fails to accept or the government fails to take. Because then now the onus is not on you. because the records are there that you provided the leadership, but you can't say you will do nothing because the pro tem will not put your issue on the floor, or
But
because
Leo, let me hold you there. Leo, let me
Go
hold
ahead.
you there.
Go ahead.
Let me hold you there. This is parliamentary. We are talking about parliament.
Yep.
Suppose that was going to come out and say, look, I'm proposing that we want certain X number of dollars to go into JFK.
Mhm.
He read the president pro tem.
Mhm.
Pro tem take and say, okay. They come on the floor, pro tem say, well, that is now on the agenda today. We can discuss it. That was a make it and say, look, I had asked the president pro tem, 2-3 senators had asked him that we want this thing done, this money to be allocated for JFK or the University of Liberia. But he's not bringing the floor. He can speak out in parliament.
Yeah, so let me just
even Leo, before you come,
go ahead.
what do you think? What should be the first step? What should Darius Dillon do to initiate before even get into the floor? Leo, you want to take it away?
Yeah, the two things that I think that is not enough, in my opinion. Number one, when these politicians want our votes, what do? Don't they campaign mass, and why do they wait for the government permission? They meet us at our doors. They meet us in our communities. Number two, legislative processes are consensus building. You don't try to take something, first of all, to the floor when you have not built some type of consensus among your colleagues. And this is when I'm saying the opposition might have some power, because if there are more opposition lawmakers now in the legislature, the opposition can have no more excuse to say they can build some consensus. I don't think the speaker in his right mind, or the pro tem, would be brave to say, I will dismiss majority of the lawmakers who have decided. But the very problem has been the opposition itself has been divided. They cannot build consensus around one thing. But number two, what about the people's participation? If Darius Dillon had a bill and the speaker decided that he would not even allow it get, or the pro tem decided he would not even allow it get on the floor, what's wrong with Darius Dillon taking it to the people and say, here is the job we want to do, but our leadership in the Senate has denied us? What's wrong with that? That's part of the process. You cannot focus only on what's happening in the House.
Yeah, you put the people against the elected leader, like the bill that anyway, it's just Jasmine because he's the only person who does part. The bill that he introduced about salary reduction.
Yeah, Professor, you want to explain? Within the opposition bloc, we have another Goliath there in himself in terms of how he goes about to address things. You have Yeka Koluba is still there. Now, if the opposition independent, what are they going to form that sort of solidarity? We don't know yet. Can he be contained and exercise political tolerance too to approach things without happening?
And I think Mr. Johnson, the young man, is bringing a lot of sense to the kind of political discourse we should be having in our country. And that's what some of us have been advocating for always. You know, the opposition and the government do not necessarily have to be at loggerheads. They must be able to engage because we have a shared goal. The goal is to see our country move forward. So we got to find a way to collaborate and interact. And I don't think the onus is on any one particular part. I think it's shared. It's a responsibility of the opposition to reach out. It's a responsibility of the ruling party to also reach out. So that's something that we want to see. I doubt it, Mr. Johnson. I really doubt that we're going to see that soon. Because given the history of the people we are talking about, you know, it's like when we were in school in Liberia, in elementary school, in junior high school, and we were the top politicians there. One way we showed that we're politicians we were very, you know, we try to be disrespectful to authorities. We question everything they did. We try to push our shoulder up to show our might and show our strength. That's how we show that we're powerful politicians. And you see the same thing being played out now, even as we have grown up. So the opposition generally comes up to castigate and make derogatory and disparaging comments about the government. They never pause to even applaud any kind of positive step of the government. Equally so on the other side, the ruling party.
It's not one above groups.
What I'm saying.
Yeah, but Professor Zaulo, just to a point there. I think there's a very important piece that we're missing here, and I will say what this piece is: the pro, anti, and independent media. Because the media often sets the tone. We see all these politicians rushing to come on these shows. They want to come and make their point. Those in the media, I'm not a journalist, those in the media need to start controlling the narrative now. We need to start bringing them back to what we should be discussing rather than these petty gossips and all the little negative news that people want to blow up to get more views. We should start saying to them, can you tell us, how are you going to lead? Look, when you decide to be a politician, you're taking on a job, whether you're opposition, now you know what the challenge is. You must have thought through how you will make it work. You can't tell me you only ran to just say, you know what, nobody allowed me doing anything, so I would just be here. No, you must have thought through the fact that, okay, the speaker may not allow my issues on the agenda because I'm not from the ruling party based on what I've seen. So you may have strategized to say, I will still run because I know another way, or I have a way to work my way through. You can't come and throw your hands up to us and say, because the speaker didn't put your issue on the agenda, that means there's nothing you can do. I disagree. Then I mean you're not qualified for the job, you step down. Let somebody else who can figure it out step in.
But here's a point here. The media you're talking about, all the politicians in Liberia, they know the media house to go to.
Yes.
They know the media house to go to. Someone will not want to come on the show because of my view that they fear that I'm going to ask a certain question. So they will avoid this platform. They will go on another platform that they fear that nobody will have asked any hardball question. There they will go. So the politicians in Liberia, both government and the ruling party and the political parties, the opposition, they all have the media houses to go to air the view, to air the sentiment. That's it.
It doesn't negate what Mr. Johnson is saying.
No.
Yeah, and that's an important piece that he brought to the table. And I always said it. Look, Mr. So knows it. He can always get me, and lately he's asked me to come in and contribute. I am very selective when it comes to which media organization I will, go out to express my views. Yeah, some of them have called me repeatedly. I'm never going to appear on them because those are platforms for hate. Those are platforms for lies. And I don't think they bring any value to our political system. Look, our country is in a very, very difficult, peculiar state. And the role of the media is so crucial to the extent I don't think the media understand the role. I always, as an educator, I always bring it back to some of the things that I see and I try to do and try to negate. Like I indicated a couple of days ago, one of the things I'm doing in Kakata at my school is to provide information literacy to our young people. A lot of our young people don't understand that not necessarily everything they hear on Facebook or on the radio is true. And so they go there and they hear it, and that's what they live by. That's what they believe in. And what it does is that it just is crippling to our democracy. It sets our people against each other. It exacerbates the tension in society. And it was surprising that our people were able to go to elections and there were no kind of serious skirmishes that took place. I take my hats off to the people because there were so many people in Liberia who were terrified, that the elections when I've seen some level of violence. There were schools that could not open because people were waiting for the elections to open. There were parents who did not pay their children's tuition because they didn't know whether they would need more money after December 8th. So, we got to find a way to tune down the rhetorics, and the media has a very important part to play in it. But I doubt that the media today will be able to do it. The media is corrupt. The media is really corrupt.
Yeah, well, Professor Zalo, that's true. I don't disagree. But for me, I often like to say we all need to have some self-accountability, right? Mr. So has his platform. He's accountable for what's discussed here. He's accountable for who he invites here. I think if we start to do that, the differences will start to be sharpened and be very clear. And trust me, and when the politicians when they're running for election, every little talk show they wanted to be on it. No, that's the time to hold your feet.
Because that part of that, because they have their own base. And media war is a very light. There are 4 different type of group. You have people doing the radio business. You have people online, you have the print, you have the electronics media, and the entertainment aspect is also being incited into the media industry, which itself does not follow the principles of a real act of journalism, and that's the challenging aspect. So you find out both the government, the opposition, they have created their own outlet, supposedly financing or whatever they're doing, to do all of the dirty works for them, and that is been working seriously. So that's a challenge. So you find out like people don't want to have this sort of savored conversation. Instead, people kind of whatever language they want
Bombastic
because it's appealing to the audience, and the audience is being unsophisticated to dive into it. So anything that comes from the opposition side, nobody want to verify it. They throw it out to their base, and the base get that bait. Anything that comes from the government side, they throw it out there to their base, and their base also, grab that bait. So it's challenging. I don't know how can this be in such a kind of open space media world, digital world that we
I
are.
would,
How
I
can
would tell you, I would tell you one thing, Mr. So, that was different this going election. I observed, right, from the past. One thing I observed from this election, the public itself, the voting public, the Liberian people, were more critical. Even when I tune in to some of the shows, right? There were people clearly saw the difference that they were just running propaganda, period. They didn't care about the facts. They didn't care about the issues. They were just stuck on their propaganda. And the results are showing in the elections that people were not swayed by just mere propaganda, that people managed to find a way to make decisions in ways that even the referendum, we saw how scrutinized it became last minute. We saw people individually taken to the airways, regardless of what politicians say or didn't say. For some reason, people were finding their way to be more critical. So what I would say, you're right, it's difficult, but I think you never know who's listening to your show, Mr. Soul. You never know what influence that person may have in society, or you never know what pedestal that person may get access to and have been influenced by a discussion on here. So I will urge those in the media that are doing a good job in keeping the conversations critical and where it should be, to continue and not be deterred by all of the other distractions that are out there. Because at the end of the day, the lies don't hold for too long. It will come a point that people will start to see, oh, this was all lies. What remains standing will be the consistent, authentic media, and that's how gradually people will start to be able to discern or tell the difference between the mere propaganda and lies out there versus platforms that do a good job in scrutinizing, placing the facts on the table, regardless of whether it goes against them or not, presenting the facts as they are.
Yeah, but Mr. Johnson, you paint a rousing picture of it, and it is good to be very hopeful and optimistic that the lies will not, stay put for a long time. But we cannot ignore the fact that our society has the level of illiteracy in our society is around about what? Illiteracy is about what? 65 or more %.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you go back to even looking at taking outside politics, think about the lies about Ebola and how it took long for our people to get caught up that Ebola was a real threat. Think about the lies that were being told about coronavirus, and even up to this point, our people don't believe it exists. So, whilst I agree with you that the so to speak good media should continue to doing the good work, I think it behooves all of us, in the people in the media, people outside the media, to continue to be vigilant in our campaign, to make sure that we support, identify with the media institutions that are factual, analytical, and to do all we can do to make sure that we can sway people away from those propaganda institutions. Because what those propaganda institutions do is that they set us against each other. And it doesn't allow for free, frank, open debates. And those things has a potential. It may not have happened this time. It has a potential for moving our country in the direction that we all may not necessarily want to see our country moving. You take into consideration the United States and how the influence of the Russian trolls affected the 2016 elections.
2016.
Yes, we cannot be dismissive of those potential or possibilities. So yeah, I understand your perspective, but I still believe that we have more work to do
to make sure that we can expose those kind of those kind of organizations. I wouldn't even call them organizations.
Yeah.
But
I will get a little bit radical here for a second, if you allow me, Mr. Soul.
Sure.
And this is the problem.
Sure.
Why are we on these platforms speaking to the Liberian people and speaking English and not Liberian English? Why are we not speaking Kru? Why are we not speaking? Because I will tell you today, 75 to 80% of the Liberian people don't speak neither understand English properly. So even the messages we are propagating, it's a minority of the population that's receiving it, and majority are misinterpreting it because we don't do well with the English language, period. Like you just said, over 60% of the country is illiterate. So we need to start also thinking as a country. The way we are proceeding makes sense. Are we supposed I told somebody the last time, I can't understand why any president of Liberia would give the State of the Nation address to the Liberian people and speak English. When I mean English, like not speaking Liberian English. Because I can tell you, 95 or 98% of the country will understand Liberian English, even the educated ones. But you have only maybe 20%, 15 to 20% of the country that will actually be able to dissect proper, the type of English that we want to speak, that we usually communicating. So the problem is a deeper problem in terms of the misinformation, because what you're saying here today, you will leave from here, and somebody will completely misunderstand it. Not because they're trying to be wicked, but just because they were not able to comprehend it the way it was presented.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that is a difficult thing for us to do. You can go on the platform.
It's not impossible.
No, it can happen, but it got to start from somewhere. But it can start from somewhere.
But
that's the whole point of communication, so that the maximum number of people you are trying to reach.
Yes.
Omar selling better boy in the market, the wheelbarrow pushing the wheelbarrow. When they come on Facebook, they see it. You will hope that the moment they listen, it's so crystal clear because what is being preached. Let's be honest, English is not our first language. It's like Liberian English, in my opinion. Everybody who wants to speak to the Liberian people,
and that's the difference with the Sierra Leonean, the Nigerian. They have pidgin English.
If you listen to their shows,
all the educated, the non-educated, communicated. Look, if you listen to Voice of Sierra Leone, right? If you listen to Voice of Sierra Leone, for those of you who even following us have now had the opportunity, listen to the Voice of Sierra Leone. I'm not saying that they do not have their problem, but what they do, they speak their pidgin English, and the kind of conversation that is kept on that outlet, I mean, it's so unique. It's so savor. You have the opposition people, you have the government people. They bring in members of the parliaments. They bring in opposition. You never. And the guy, I'm going to invite the guy. I had an opportunity to talk to him, and we've been sharing a lot of notes. Part of that is to kind of have that exchange, learning process, and the narrative I heard from him, guys, it is quite amazing. And so they are kind of holding their leaders accountable. What are you for the government? What are you opposition to? What are you a pressure group? They have their people. They're doing all of the work that they're supposed to do. But are we doing that? Or are we just being selective? Talk about certain thing, hate on certain thing. Our people, they are not even visible. Like what you're saying. Some of them, you get them to call them, you will call. And in fact, they will honor your appointment. By the time they talk to one or other two people, they say, oh, no, don't go there. You go there. That area is not a safe zone for it. Or this person here, people are adjudicated before even the process starts. That guy, he's not one of us.
So Johnson, you are alluding to something. And sometimes I tell people, how many of us when we leave from here, go to Morovia and go to our villages? How many of us? And when you go there, how do you communicate with your people to better understand you?
Hi.
Yeah.
When they say everybody that come from another, wow. We will see within a police car coming. You talk to them, wow.
So I went 2007. I was in Liberia.
The dog barking.
Yeah. So I left. I went to a village, and I told the people I was spending 2 nights in the village. And someone came to me, "What do you mean? You spending 2 nights?" I said, "I'm going to spend 2 nights here." And then someone came and greeted me in English. I told them, I said, no. I told the person no. So I greeted the person in Pele. Then the person asked me,
People,
"Oh, don't forget it, yeah?" And I laughed. I said, "No." So we spoke the 2 days I was there. We all were speaking Pele. Then the woman looked at me and said, "My son, well, so many people would see they didn't want to come in the village again."
you're gonna wish.
I said, "But what is the deal
Okay.
that you don't want to come?" But you know what you say? Look at the government. I'm not talking that we are their government now. That's government. What they do with the languages. EFBC, I think they used to have 15 minutes or 30 minutes for a tribe that the news are giving. And so now I think it was once a week. Can you imagine that?
Mm-hmm.
Someone giving news once a week in a dialect or tribe for 15 minutes?
Yeah.
What helped? What helped?
Okay.
The people benefit from that? Nothing. So maybe we need to revisit our country and look and try to change some of these things here. That let us try to bring our real self, our people into the mainstream. Go to Ghana. I live in Ghana. When you go to Ghana on the radio, the guy is speaking English, but I see that speaking Tree. The guys, they are speaking English, seeing that speaking Tree in the it's all over.
The men ain't like, bro, you listen to them. Some of they are for cops here, they can't even define it. They can't even call it, in the dictionary, you can't get it. They're fighting hard.
Exactly.
Oh my
That's
God.
why you see, look, and you guys are big.
Even those of us.
Huh?
Go ahead, Professor Dallo. Go ahead.
No, you guys are even making a lot of good points, because these are some of the very same things I thought about. I have a school. It's located in the Bona Farm. They call it area Pele Town. So the Pele Town, it has a lot of Pele people in that particular area. And one of the things that I told my staff to do was to find a teacher who could teach both the Pele language and the Bassa language, so that we can start educating our kids in those languages, at a very early age. Look, everything we said here tonight, those are very, very important things. What is communication? It's an exchange.
If
you are trying to somebody,
there's no point.
Yeah, there's no point.
The message is not received.
Expensive, sometimes I got similar thing to what Mr. George was saying. I get to Liberia, and sometimes people are shocked about the way I carry myself out, because barely will you ever know that I have
your status
education. So I kind of like humble myself. I speak in the way that they will understand, and that's very important for us to be able to do. Interesting. That's why for me, personally, I tell you the truth. If I was running for a political job in Liberia, I would not participate in the debate. Why? How many population understand what we are discussing over there?
I don't know.
But let's be even honest. What occurred was not a debate.
I'm not talking about what happened in Monserrato.
What happened in Grand Guinea? What happened in Grand Guinea?
Yeah,
that was a debate. It was classic. Maybe I was
it was so ridiculous. And guess I blame the facilitators, because that's part of it. The facilitators, and I called the guy, I was like, if Darius Delon or Thomas Farah, one of them has punched into one mouth and to swallow their tea, you are responsible. For God's sake, even if you don't know it, try to go out there and see how the process was. You created an unsafe environment for the candidates. You put them into harm way. You see them like facing. I mean, you as a moderator, you set the agenda. Was there any censor done? But you see, and that's part of the problem we have in the country. What are the issues affecting the people in Monserrato? Is it a matter of somebody to name all the
counties? But Mr. So, to your point, first of all, I don't even think I listen to most of the campaigns. Most people, they not even talk about the jobs that they are being elected to do. People don't know their job description. No. Most people running to be legislators don't know their job description. Everybody, look, I see people talking about they would do this. They're talking about things that will affect the national country in ways that I'm like, you can't. That is not what you're supposed. As if they are the policy makers.
Yeah.
You are not the policymaker, it's the executive branch. You are lawmakers, you are the ones that provide the tools that the executive branch of government need to legally make the type of policies that you can't be usurping. You say you're running to usurp the function of the executive branch of government, but to a large extent, Mr. So I'll be honest with you, as I watch the electoral landscape, again, I'm saying there's a huge issue with a leadership gap in the country. And people like to think about it only at the presidency. This is a big mistake. We need leadership all through at the various levels. The president can be the most masterful leader. If we don't have the same level of leadership at the various levels, the president will fail. We need it in the legislature. We need leaders. We need in the judiciary. We need leaders. We need leaders even in the executive and various ministries. So there's one thing like brother, we not sit down and say because the president doesn't lead, so everybody else should sit down and let the society to collapse. It's a serious issue. You are elected. You have equal responsibilities on your shoulders as the president does.
Yeah. And and there's a saying that no nation can be better than its people. And that's very important. We have a serious leadership crisis in our country from in the family. It starts from in the family. The family as the smallest and most important unit of society.
That's the fabric.
Yeah. It's been eroded over time.
Yeah.
For so many reasons. Economics, the kind of politics we practice in the country, everything eroding the fabric of the family. And unless we can address those kind of things, our country big. But Mr. Johnson, I'm sure you don't intend to run in Liberia because with your mindset that one of the reasons why the politicians do the way they do, one of the reasons why the politicians say the way they say it is because that's what the people want them to do, and that's what the people want.
And this is where I profoundly disagree with Professor Zalo.
Professor Zalo, I would disagree with you.
No, listen. Let me tell you something. Let me hear why you disagree.
Good. For me, I will tell you why. Mm-hmm. Nobody in Liberia have given our people another option. Mm-hmm. So we cannot assume no one, at least in my lifetime. You might know more than me before my lifetime, but in my lifetime, I follow all the elections and nobody has presented to the Liberian people a different option. So why would they go choose it?
All right.
We make the assumption that they will not accept it, but we haven't presented it to them. We haven't given them an option to say, here are the stark contrasts.
Yeah.
No one. Everybody did.
I don't think that's true. I know some people.
Give me an example then. Yeah.
I know some candidates who have gone in and have thought to, I don't want to get in trouble yet, but maybe if I get
in trouble with George or Leo?
No, not me.
With George, not with everybody.
Professor Zalo, before you go further, just to be honest with you, I'm yet to see only a few handful of people in Liberia have actually ran a serious campaign to begin with.
There have been some who have run a campaign. Some.
A serious campaign? I haven't seen it. It would have been known.
No. Some people have gone in, especially some of the people who came from here. Have gone back to
the guy. I think one of the guys that ran in Magibi.
Pastor Collins?
I think so. You saw him speaking.
Yeah, but here is my own issue. 90% of people he was trying to communicate to did not even get what he was trying to do, because the way he presented it, again, you go to Magibi to run campaign and you are speaking this top class American English. You are engaging people at the top class level. That's the minority of the population.
Yeah, exactly. You have a mixture of 4 different people that were different dialect. I think the Pele there, the Bassa there, the Gisi, and all of those.
The Gola
also there. So if I say a serious campaign, first of all, our people go to Liberia to run without doing any feasibility study. We said in America, we wait when elections are coming. Look, anybody who wants to run a serious campaign, you need at least 2 years of proper feasibility studies in the community that you want to run to understand the lay of the land. There's no research. That's why I said it's not a serious campaign, because a serious campaign will tell you we have the research, we know this community in and out, and we know exactly if we need to communicate in 4 dialects on our campaign. We have the key people that will make sure our messages are equally distributed in those 4 dialects.
If you got we know the problem.
Let me tell you, Professor, what happened the other day.
Okay,
this boy, Monipaga the Mon. He went Bon County and told the people, say, All the chief here.
Damn, it seems like you are the money packer here, something.
I don't know, but I hate for people to play on people intelligent. This young man went and told the chiefs, all you people here,
Yeah, but
have car.
What's wrong with that?
Well, Professor Zabo, that is not impossible.
There's a lot of things wrong with that.
That is not possible right now. That is not possible.
Who's supposed to get in the car?
So first of all, those are the things you don't want to hear. So
yes,
he has to.
Can you imagine that? Then he went for that. He said. Then he told it. He went to the. He was addressing the student. He said, "In fact, this whole country, if I elected, I can make the government to take money. So every child will have a tablet.
Our free child, you know.
Yes. Now, Professor Zawa, you know Liberia. Looking at the economic situation in the country, even to provide tablet for every children in that country, the accessibility of internet services, all these things, he's not taking into account. But putting the people under that kind of impression that this, if you give me power, this is what I will do.
All right, guys. Let's come tonight.
That be set at the highest level to your people, and that's why every time Mr. So say, "Why I always go after it?" I said, "No, this man is too young, and people look up to him, and look at what he's telling the people."
No, on a serious note, it's unfortunate the current the electorates that we have, the people. You know, before you get to them, they tell you exactly what they want to hear. And if you try to get them, try and say, hey, then we know what we want. We know what we want. So you talk, they put in the okay, you not all your turn, you what you say, where you get. When they ask you that, what you say, then just get it. Okay, well, gentlemen, before we wrap up here, there are two things I want to do. I want to do a quick spin here. Leo King, Pa George.
Yeah.
We are gradually getting to the finale of this whole senatorial race. The races all over the place here, and most likely a coup pivot in the directions of the opposition. So, if that happens, what next for them? And what do you think the lesson that will be learned from the government? Would there be any sort of new ideas? Will we see new things injected from the part of the government? What next?
Yeah, let me start from the opposition. And
what they need to do.
I need to warn them. This election, the people they will be giving you power. Do not abuse that power. Do not try to strangulate the government to score political points. Because if they do so, the people will come after them. They must do everything to tell the Liberian people that they will work with the government to make the difference in the lives of the everyday people. Being elected doesn't mean that you should put all the posture that we can do anything, the government cannot, we do this to strongly the government. No, it is not what the people gave you, people power.
Wait for obstruction.
Yeah, no, don't be obstructionist. Do something to work with the government. What do you think is positive? Something that will benefit the people. That compromise should be reached. You should not be there to obstruct everything, to oppose everything because it's the government. No. And on the part of the government, I think this is it's a teachable moment for them. It should be a teachable moment and a learning moment for them to go back and say, hey, we now got a certain group of people now that we have to work with. It's not a matter of choice. And if we want to prove to the Liberian people that we can govern and move this country forward, we have to work with the opposition, those whom have been elected. So it's not one-way street. It should be both sides.
All right, Leo.
Yeah, I mean, for me, first of all, I'd like to reiterate again. Go ahead, Mr. Sil.
Yeah, the momentum seems to shift in the directions of the opposition. Should they make wise of it, or should they see it now? Okay, the glory has come down upon us. What should we be washing up to see as they are heading in these directions? And what could be the advice to the government?
First of all, I'd just like to preface my comments by saying, again, a big hats off to the Liberian people and to the government of Liberia for the manner in which they've conducted themselves in these elections. I think I cannot overstate that, given how fragile our peace still is. But to your question, I think the opposition have two things to do. And like I said, if the results continue the direction that is in, number one, it has to show the Liberian people that it takes the mandate that has been given to them seriously. And what does that mean? That means finding ways to work with the government in places where it is applicable, where it is possible, and in places where it's not possible, showing the Liberian people a different plan as to how it can be done better. Because in my opinion, it's not just okay to say what the government is doing is not good. You are government in waiting on your opposition. That's what we usually call it. So you should be running a Shiloh government. If the way the government is governing is not right, we should see the opposition parties being governed in a way that demonstrates what it will look like if they were in power. And I keep saying, there is never ever a shutdown that you cannot work. So I will really hope the opposition can provide some leadership in mending some of the broken fences. And if it means making some overtures to the government in places that there are common grounds that they feel they can find common grounds to work, let them not give up in finding common grounds with the government. Let them continue to, even if the government continues to shun them, if the government continues to turn its back, they should not stop trying to find common grounds. At the same time, they have to criticize. That's part of their job. So I will expect them to criticize, but criticize constructively so that it doesn't lead us down a path of destruction and violence. But again, the responsibility is on the shoulder of our government to lead, and the responsibility is on the shoulder of our opposition to provide checks and balances and providing it in a way that is constructive and progressive and forward-looking.
Professor Zawa?
Yeah, I just read something here from soon to be re-elected Senator Dillon. I think the message really looked different from what I've been hearing from him. It's about the incident involving a young man who was hit by the vehicles in the president's and he acknowledged the fact that the president, at least, has been very supportive of the young man. That's the kind of statement we expect to be hearing from people in society, from the opposition, from people in government. We got to step away from the vitriolic rhetorics that we've been preaching over the last couple of years. We have to find a way to put the people agenda front and to be able to move our country forward. Too many families in Liberia are going to bed every day without a meal. Too many children are out of school. Too many sick people are staying home and praying. But that's the only hope. That's the only chance. That's the only thing. That's the only means they have to heal them from their pains. It's time that we begin to feel the pains of our people. It's time that we begin to understand the challenges that our people are going through and working together to move our country forward. As a citizen, as a friend of the ruling party, I can assure you that I will personally do my part to encourage the kind of dialogue that I hear Mr. Johnson talk about, Mr. George talk about, and you, Mr. Soul, talk about. Those things are very important. And lastly, I just wanted to say, Liberia stands a chance of becoming better, but that depends on us. And I hope we will relish the moment. I hope we will utilize it. I hope we will, do all we can do to move our country forward.
All right, gentlemen, Leo, thank you for your last pitch, and Professor Zawlot, Amos George, as usual. And that's why we are very selective in bringing people here, because we want to bring people here who are going to impact, who are going to, inject something within our society, in our community, for the good of our people. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for your time, and I have all of you have a pleasant weekend. We're looking forward in the coming week, and we are hoping and praying that the process in Liberia goes on well as anticipated. And there are two scenarios involved in elections. You either win it or you lose it. I mean, that's it. If you don't want to be in a losing side, don't go into a race, because there are two scenarios involved. You either get it or you don't. Until then, guys, I want to thank you so much for your expertise, and to our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for your patience and tolerance. For those of you, we didn't pick up your call, it's now undelivered. Next time we will, but we're just wrapping up your comments and views. We respect that. We just ask for a little bit much civility into our conversation, because we're talking about a country with 15 political subdivisions, not to count or check the ballots. We are all from different backgrounds, so we can easily agree, but we can create a conversation and have a discussion where we'll be able to come to a consensus. Gentlemen, thank you so much, and have a pleasant Friday night.
Let me see the hands of the warrior in this house. Put your hands together for the Lord, and let your enemy breathe about it. Let the devil know we have a mighty God and a consuming fire. My guys, my warrior, I'm a leader. Warrior, I'm a leader. Oh, warrior, I'm a leader.
All right, that's folks. How we're going to end the line this Friday evening. I'm Afonso Z and Sot of the Liberia Popular Radio and LPR TV. Thank you so much for being part of my company this evening.
Jesus, you are my God. My guys, my warrior, I'm a winner.
Hey, my good friends, Munant, thank you, and all of you here. If they're first time, just go to our YouTube page and our LIB Messenger to follow, click like. That way you can get a notification if we are on. And please, we are open for suggestions as to how we can improve, what we need to do. And if there are other issues that you want us to talk about, let us know. Again, let me just re-echo. If you want to be a contributor here, I hope some ladies will come forward. And I know because somehow they're afraid because of the kind of way people come after people. But if you're a lady, you want to be part of our talking point here, let us know and we can bring you here. And that for sure, I guarantee folks on this outlet here are very respectful, even though there will be some little bit hard words here, but they know exactly how to go about to express themselves. So let us know if you want to be a contributor, okay?
You are a winner.
Yes, Delon, Tifa, whoever wins this, and all of the 15 political subdivisions, we must give the winning title to Liberia. We just need decent people. We just need people with credibility. We just need people that respect, that will treat their country with decency. You know, we want people that we can count on, we can trust. Amen. Join LPR tomorrow afternoon, 3 p.m. Local time in Liberia. More batch, more results, provisional updates will be coming from the Election Commission. Our guys will be there. They will be bringing you live coverage. So just glue to Liberia Public Radio. If you have not touched or hit that notification button, please do follow, subscribe to our YouTube page, our Twitter line as well, and the LIB Messenger page for notifications and alerts when we are on. Again, don't forget this virus is still ongoing, it's deadly. Take all precautions. Do everything you can possibly, because the life you save could be yours, that of a friend and your family members. Just forget, minimize handshake. Make sure you get a glove in your compartment. You do everything, because it's crazy again. It is crazy right now. So holiday is all around, so we'll do everything possible we can to be one another brother's keeper. Until then, folks, I want to thank you so much for your beautiful time. Without you, we can't be here. We value your comments. I cannot overemphasize that. You can critique us, whatever you want to say. At least it must be done with civility. That's what we want. And as you critique or put our alternative so that we can improve. Don't just say A and walk away. And that's what we want to do to the government. And as we place check on the government, we will also place check on the opposition. Guess what? They were opposition to yesterday and they became the governing folks now governing party. And so now the opposition, who knows, they will also become. So this time around, we have to check everybody, keeping a more proportionate, equilibrium, balanced, fair to do it. So let's just keep our finger crossed. We'll keep faith and believe in the National Election Commissions as they release those provisional results gradually. I'm quite sure by the 15th, they should be wrapping up. And we'll know exactly who going to be our next group of lawmakers that will be in the upper house of government. Until then, folks, have a pleasant evening.
And I found nobody like you. Bright morning star, only you I serve. Every day I will pour my love on you. That's why when I wake in the morning, I sing my praise to you. In the night, oh, now you are the call, now you the rain, now you, oh, you be Baba, and so it's salute. No one like you. You be Baba. Oh, yeah, never male. Give it all. Papa, no solia yero. This thing you can do. Give it all. Let's Nicololo. I love you. I declare my love. I praise you. You alone, my Lord. Holy Spirit, my love. You alone, my Father, my sweet comforter. You are my defender. When praises go, your blessings come down. Oh, my Jesus, come receive.